Hello guys, once again I welcome you back to my YouTube channel. In this video we are going to be discussing the concept of continuous integration and continuous deployment or continuous delivery as the case may be. And we are going to be using a simple Java-based web application as our case study. So in this video we are going to learn how to build and deploy this application from end to end. And what we mean from end to end is we are going to start from when the source code is made available by the developer, and we are going to end at when the application is finally deployed into an orchestrator. So this video is going to be less theoretical and more of a practical hands-on. So we are going to be performing the hands-on demonstration, and we will be explaining the theoretical concept as the case may be. I believe you must have been hearing about continuous integration and continuous development, otherwise known as CI/CD. So this is a concept in DevOps that helps in the effective deployment of application. So we're going to segment the discussion into two: the CI part and the CD part. So what is continuous integration and what is continuous development, deployment? Okay, like I said, we are not going to be doing so much of the theory. We are just going to be doing that of the practical. Now I'm going to go onto my board and try to explain what you are going to be doing in this project. And I hope you are going to ride with me, and I believe or I expect that you will enjoy the ride. Now, let me pull up. Now, we have a web application. That is what our task is. We want to what? We want to deploy a web app. Okay? We want to deploy a web app. That is our project. Okay? And this web app is what? Is Java based. Okay? That is, it is built based on Java language. So our developer, in the real sense of it, what happened is our developer will develop this application, and they are going to make, okay, this is our developer. They are going to, the developer, okay, they are going to make the code available to us. Let's assume this is our developer, okay. They are going to make the code available to us in our GitHub repository, okay. This is our GitHub repository, okay. When they make this code available to us in the GitHub repository, what we are going to do is we are going to check out this repo. We are going to check it out. And that is, how do we check it out? We can check it out by either cloning it to our local repo. We can clone. Okay, we can clone to our local, or we can, fork it. We can import it, as the case may be. Okay, what we are just doing in this case now, we are going to do it to our local repository. So we are going to have it. So we are going to work on it. And what actually happens is when you work on it, you make, if there's any changes you want to make, or if there's anything you want to impute, maybe you want to install dependencies and all that. Then after that, we'll now push for, we'll now raise a pull request, and we'll now raise a pull request. Okay. After we have make changes on it, we make a pull request and ask, this is the main branch, okay? So this is the main branch of the repo. It's on the main branch. So we are going to cut out another branch from it, okay? We are going to cut out another branch that is called feature branch. Okay, that is where you can only make changes. It is after that that you can now ask for a pull request. That is, you want to ask or a pull or a merge request. Some people call it merge request, requesting that whatever changes that have been made here want to be merged to the main branch. But that is not what we want to be doing today. We want to assume that the code is good and up and running. Okay, so I'm going to clean all of this to make the explanation better. So I will clean all of this. All right. So let's assume from where the code is made available to us, and we'll clone it into our local. After cloning the repo into local, so this is it. We check it out. Okay. We check out into our local. Let's assume we clone it into the local repository, into our local machine. So the first thing we want to do is we move ahead to do what we call Maven compile. So Maven, which is a tool that we are going to mention about, will so as I mentioned previously, we are going to be using a simple Java-based web app. Okay, we are going to be using a simple Java-based web application for this project. And what are the tools we are going to be using to carry out this application? One, we are going to need Maven. Okay, and I'm going to explain why we need Maven and at what stage are we going to be using each of the tools. We need Maven. Okay, we need Trivy. We need Trivy. We need SonarQube. We need SonarQube. We need Nexus. We need Docker. We need Kubernetes. We need Kubernetes. And since we are going to be using Jenkins, we are going to be using Jenkins as our CI/CD tool. We have a lot of CI/CD tools, okay? We have a lot of tools in DevOps that can run CI/CD pipelines. We have Jenkins. Jenkins is one of them. We have Git Actions. We have GitLab Actions. We have Bitbucket CI/CD or Bitbucket Action. So we have a whole lot of CI/CD orchestrators or pipelines, that a lot of tools that can use pipelines. But in this project, we are going to be using Jenkins. For us to use Jenkins effectively, we are going to install Java. Okay, Jenkins works along with Java. Without Java, Jenkins cannot work. So Jenkins depends on server. So on any server that you are going to install Jenkins, Java must also be installed on that server. Also, the same with Maven. Maven also depend on Java. So you need to also have Java in it. So we are going to be working with all of these tools, and this is going to be a very good opportunity for you to learn what these tools are, what each of these tools does. So when our developer, okay, when our developer give us the source code. Okay, they give us the source code in the Git repository. Okay, let's assume this source code is available in Git, either GitHub or Git Bash or whatever. Okay, in our own case, it is in GitHub. Sorry, they give us in what? In GitHub. Sorry about all this. Okay, I don't know why I can't write all this. Okay, they give us in GitHub. Sorry about the little thing. So when developer make the source code available to us in Git, okay, in GitHub, in our own case, the the um, the developer give us the source code. Okay, so the first thing we are going to do is to check out the code. Okay, and how do we check out the code? It is either we do it by either you can clone it by local, okay, or if you like, you can fork it, okay. But most of the time, you clone it to your what? To your local machine. And after that, we'll do what? We will use Maven. Don't forget we have Maven. That's the first thing. Maven is going to perform what we call Maven compile. So Maven is going to compile the code. And what does it do during compilation? Maybe you want to check if there's any error in the code. So after Maven has compiled, then Maven will also go on and what? Test. If we will go on and test the code, it's going to test the code for any vulnerability, for any error, any weaknesses, code duplication, and all that. It's going to carry out the code duplication. Okay, and when that is done, we will what? The next thing is Maven we what? After Maven test, we will now move to what? We need to scan the code for any CVE. Because something CVE, common vulnerability exposures. Okay, these are exposures or weaknesses through which our code can be attacked. So we are going to run what we call Trivy. Let me come down here. So from this stage, I'm coming here. So we are going to run what we call Trivy file scan. So Trivy we scan this file for a vulnerability, and after that, after Trivy file scan, we will now move to what? Maven build. Maven will now package this code into what we call artifact. Okay, it's going to package it into what we call artifact. Artifact is the end product of Maven build. Okay, so this artifact now will now be pushed or published. Okay, this artifact will now be published to a artifact repository or artifact registry, and the one we are going to be using here is Nexus. Okay, we are going to be using Nexus artifact repository or registry. The another one is a JFrog. JFrog is another artifact repository, but in our own case, we are going to be using Nexus. So when this artifact is now processed in Nexus, then it will now be available for Docker to work on it, because Docker cannot work directly on the code in this case. So Docker rely on the artifact that have been built by Maven to build its image. So from our Nexus repository, where we have the artifact available, Docker will now come in and build. So Docker will build what? The image. So when Docker build the image, now there could also be some vulnerability, some weaknesses, some attack point that our application image can be attacked. So before we make use of the application image, we also do what we call Trivy image scan. Trivy image scan. Okay, so Trivy image scan. Oh, I think we skip something. Okay, we skip something. Just a minute. So to further clarify what I've just explained, so after we have cloned the forked the repository, then the first thing we are going to carry out is the immediately after checkout. The first thing we are going to be talking about is the Maven compile, and I've told you that what Maven compile does is to check if your code is correctly written. It's going to check for any error in the writing of the code, and then we'll move to what Maven test. Maven test actually does what we call unit test. Okay, you want to check if all the code are placed in the appropriate directory, the appropriate point. Okay, so it is also important to let you know that every stage of Maven, every Maven stage contains the previous stage. For example, if you skip Maven compile and you run Maven test will first run compile before run test. Okay, so for example, now the next stage after Maven test, okay, normally if you are working with Maven only, will have been Maven, let's say Maven package. If you run Maven package will run compile, run test before running itself. So every step will recurse back to the previous set to make sure the previous set is done, previous stage is done before carrying out the next one. So after checkout, perform Maven compile and Maven test, the next thing we are going to do now is, let me move my cursor. The next thing we are going to do is we are going to use what? SonarQube. If you come back to our tool, okay, let me take you back to our tool. I told you that we are going to need Maven, Trivy, SonarQube, and all that. Okay, so that is where we are now. Let me move my. Sorry. Okay, and this is where we are. So after Maven test, we are going to do what we call Trivy file scan. So this Trivy file scan is going to check something we call CVE. CVE is what? Common vulnerability exposures. Okay, those are the weaknesses that are likely to be in our application through which we can have attack, through cyber security attack and all that. So Trivy will scan through your code to make sure that your code is in good state. So after Trivy scan, the next thing we are going to do is what? SonarQube analysis. Now, SonarQube analysis, what does it do? Just like what our Maven test that does unit test, SonarQube analysis does what we call static test. Static test. Okay, in DevOps or application management, we have two types of tests. Okay, this is static. We have two types of tests. We have static and dynamic. I think this is called STAT and I think DTAT or that start. I have to Remember that. This one is static application testing, something like that. And this one is dynamic, some application testing, something like that. Static testing is where you are testing the application when the application is not running. You are actually working on the source code of the application. Why this one is when the application has been built and started running. That's when we carry out this dynamic test. So what SonarQube is going to be doing is going to be doing what we call static test. So SonarQube will go to test our code and it's going to give us report of whatever he finds, maybe the code smells, the code duplicates, and something we call code coverage. Now, it is important to let you know here now that SonarQube as a tool contains two things. We have what we call the SonarQube server and the SonarQube scanner. We are going to discuss that when we get to the hands-on. But in your SonarQube, it does two important things. One, it does what we call the static test, and it's also does what we call the code coverage. Okay, the code coverage. So, code coverage means if your line is, let's assume your code is about 100 lines. SonarQube will have to run through this 100 lines to look for vulnerability. So code coverage is simply the amount of lines of the code that are covered by SonarQube. So SonarQube is also going to give us the report. We're going to see it when we get to our hands-on. So after SonarQube analysis, then we are going to do what we call quality gate check. Okay, quality gate check. Now, what is quality gate check? Quality gate check is also performed by SonarQube. So SonarQube perform these two analyses now. It's going to perform the static test and code coverage, and also about quality gate check. And what is quality gate check? For example, you want to set a standard. You want to set a standard that your code must meet, which in another time I can call it a benchmark. Okay, you have set a certain standard that your code must meet this standard for the pipeline to continue to build it. That is what code quality gets. So one of it, you can say the code coverage must cover at least 80% of the line. The code coverage must not, the quality check or the SonarQube analysis must not have more than 4 errors, for example. Then the number of duplicate lines must not be more than 3. So these are the standards that you have checked. And you want to pass your pipeline through this standard that only continue to build this application if these standards are met. That is what quality gate does. So after SonarQube analysis and quality gate, then the next thing we are going to do now is what? Maven build. Okay, and so Maven will what? We build the application. It's going to package the application into either the application that is built by Maven is called artifact. They are called artifact. And it's either going to be either a .jar file or a .war file or a .ear. Okay, these are most common three outputs of a Maven build, of a Maven artifact. So when Maven build this artifact, at this stage, after this artifact, we can even check what this web application is all about. We can run the application locally and see the end product of what we are going to get. But that cannot be used in the production level. We can just check it to see what we are going to get. So after Maven has completed the Maven build and build the artifact, the next thing it's going to do is going to publish or push this artifact into an artifact registry or artifact repository, anything you want to call it. It's going to push it into an artifact repository. And what is our artifact repository here? Let me move my slide a little bit. It's going to publish it into artifact registry. And in this case, we are going to be using Nexus. So Nexus is our artifact repository. Another example is JFrog. Okay, there's another tool called JFrog. So you can use JFrog or you can use Nexus, but in our own case, we're going to be using Nexus. So um, Maven will build, then the artifact will now be published to Nexus. So when this artifact is published to Nexus, then we now have the artifact of the build. So after this, after we have the artifact ready, then Docker can now come in. So Docker will now come in and and build the image. So Docker will build the image. Now, Docker depends on the artifact from Nexus or from Maven build to build its own image, because Docker cannot directly work on the source code. So Docker rely on the artifact that has been built by Maven to build its own image. So now Docker will build the image. So after Docker has built the image, we still don't trust that everything is okay. We think that the image might still contain certain vulnerability. So we now go ahead and we have to scan it again. And that is where we are going to do what we call Trivy image scan. Don't forget what we did the other time was Trivy file scan. Now we have an image. So we are going to be doing Trivy image scan. So after we have scanned the image and we find that that is fine, you can now push that image to Docker registry. You can now put this image to Docker registry. And at this stage, when our image is available in Docker registry, then our CI stage is completed. That is, the continuous integration stage is completed. So at this stage, you'll be able to get your image available in the Docker registry or Docker repository or DockerHub, as the case may be. Then the image has been, the continuous integration stage has been completed. Now we can now talk about the CD stage. But like I said, in this video, we are only going to be discussing the CI stage. So when we complete the hands-on on the CI stage, we will now move on to the CD stage, and we'll see how that works. Now, before we jump onto the hands-on, I will quickly run you through what happened. So immediately our what do you call it? Immediately our developer give us the GitHub, the source code. We'll check it out onto our local repository. Then we go to perform Maven compile, then Maven test. After Maven test, we will compile Trivy file scan. After Trivy file scan, which is to check vulnerability, we will do SonarQube analysis. After SonarQube analysis, we will do quality gate check. After quality gate check, we'll do what? We'll do Maven build. That is when the application is built. After the application is built, we'll push the product of the Maven build, which is an artifact, which is either a .jar, .war, or .ear file. Then we'll push it to Nexus. From Nexus, we have Docker build. Then after Docker build, we have Docker push into the repository. And that completes the CI stage. So we're going to go on to our hands-on now and perform the demonstration of all we have explained. Now, like I said, we are going to be using Jenkins tool as our CI/CD orchestrator. So we are going to be using Jenkins pipeline. So now, having completed the explanation of the workflow, okay, of the process of the application deployment, we have completed the continuous integration stage, and we are going to move on to the hands-on demonstration to see what we have actually explained. Now, this is how we are going to approach it. The first thing we're going to do is to check, is to build and check on our application to see if the application actually works. Because it would not make any sense if you have walked through all this process that I explained, and eventually you find out that your application, in this case your web app, cannot be accessed online due to one issue or the other. So the first thing you want to do is you want to check locally. You want to test locally if your application is actually working. So what we're going to do now, we're going to jump onto our AWS console. We are going to spin up an EC2 machine, and we are going to clone our application onto the machine. We are going to install Maven. We'll install Java. If Java is not already installed, there are some EC2 machines that come with Java pre-installed. So if Java is not installed, we'll install it. We'll install Maven, and we are going to do Maven compile, Maven test, and Maven package of the application. And we are going to test the application locally to see if the application actually works. Then if it works, then we can confidently move on to starting the CI/CD pipeline, because that will take quite a bit of effort. So let us jump onto our AWS console and put it into practice. So now we are on the AWS console. So we are going to spin up an EC2 machine. So I will click on launch. Then I will give it web, just call it web app. Then I will go for 2. And it is always advisable, or let's say I like to use the version before the latest one. So I'll click on 22.04 LTS. I will confirm. Head to just for the process to be a little bit fast, I'm going to be going for T2 small. Then I'm going to select my key, default key pair. So I'm going to select an existing security group, general, and I'm going to tell you what I have done. So it is called General Security Group, General SG, and I'm going to make this 20 GB. That is it, and I'm going to go ahead and launch. I'm going to go ahead and click on launch. Now let me show you something. So when I go to let me click on another tab, and I'm going to click on EC2, and I will click on security group, and I will look for general security group. Okay, here is general security group, and I click on this. Now, if you see this security group, I have created the security group, and I opened all the common ports that are commonly used with a DevOps project. So I created all the ports, and I named it General Security Group. So anytime I want to carry out my project or my demo, I just go there and select it. So you can take the screenshot, create a security group with all these ports open, and give it a name. So it's going to save you a lot of time. So that's why I selected security group. However, it is important to note that it is not done in a production environment, because you only open the port that is needed at a point in time. But this is just for demonstration purposes. So let's go back to our console, and I think the EC2 machine is launched. So let us see it. Okay, the EC2 machine is running. So I'm going to click on the machine. So now I'm going to SSH into the machine using my VS Code terminal. So I'm going to be connecting to my machine through SSH using my VS Code terminal. So here's my VS Code. I'm going to open another window. Okay, I'll just click on File. I'll open a new window, and I'll close the one below. Do this then. So this is a new window. So I want to connect to my EC2 machine from my VS Code terminal. So you're going to go to the extreme bottom left. You see that little icon. Let me see if I can zoom in. Okay, you can see that icon below, that green icon. I'm going to click on it, and you're going to click on Connect to Host. You're going to click on Configure Host, and you're going to select the one that comes with your computer user ID. Now, this is how it looks like, the configuration. You can add a new one, but since we already have the name we have here is web app. That the one we have before is web app. That is fine. So this host name can be any name. Okay, you can name it anything you want to call your server. But for purpose of consistency, I call my, if you remember here, I call my app web app. Okay, so that is why I want you to call this one to web app. Then I'm going to go ahead now, and the host name is the public DNS of your EC2 machine. So I'm going to go to it and copy. This is the public DNS. I'll copy it. I'll come back here and I will select this, replace it. Okay. Why this other one is the part to which the part on your computer where your key pair is stored. Don't forget, if you look at my EC2 machine information, I use a key pair and look at the name of the key pair. The name of the key pair is my default key pair. So I need to tell VS Code how it's going to locate this pair, because he needed this pair to connect to the machine. So how do I get this? How do I get this part? I should come into my machine here, and I go into the C drive, and I click on Users, and I click on my username, Felix, and I go to download folder, and inside download folder, and I search for my default. See, this is the pair, and look at the part. C drive, users, Felix, download, then my part. So that is exactly the part. I have here. Look at it, and my pen. So you are virtually telling VS Code to look for this part to get your key pair. So, and the user, of course, you should go back. How do I get this user? Is Ubuntu. You should go to your username. You should go to your EC2 machine, okay, and you click on connect. You see that the username is what? Ubuntu. So I'll come back here. So I will now go back to the terminal again at the bottom left, and I will click on this. I will go back, connect to host, and you can see the name is already here, web app, and it's going to ask you the type of machine. You click on continue, and then you see in a minute it's going to connect to the terminal. It's going to connect to the EC2 machine. Boom, we are now in the EC2 machine. I can close this one and expand this. So I'm now in the EC2 machine. Let me come up over here, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Now, whenever you open a new VM or EC2 machine, any VM on the cloud, either on Azure, AWS, or in GCP, or whichever platform, the first thing is to update the dependencies and the tools that are available by using the command sudo apt, this is for Ubuntu, update. I can say -y update, and then also sudo apt -y upgrade. So we want to update and upgrade. So we click enter. Now, after we have update and upgrade, why do you do this? You do this so that all the tools and the dependencies that are available on that EC2 machine will be made available for you to use. So let me close this. So I'm now going to, after this, I will now go to my GitHub repository and clone the source code that has been provided to me by the developer. So this is my source code. This is my GitHub rep. So I will come here, I will click on this arrow, and I will copy the GitHub repository. Then I'll come back to my VS Code. Let us wait for it to complete. So it's still updating and upgrading. So we click on enter. Just select it and click on enter, and we'll be done. Now we are done. I will clear the screen. And the next thing I'm going to do now is to what? Clone. So I'll do git clone, and I'll put repo. I'll click enter. Now the clone is completed, and of course you know that when you clone a Git repo, it's going to create a folder of the repository name. So it's going to create Maven web app.git. That will be the name of the repo. So let's cd into that repository. Cd into Maven is there. Let me clear the screen, and I will just show you the component of the component of the repo. So I want to explain something to you. So as a result of that, I'm going to delete this file called target folder. So I'm going to remove rf target. So I've removed the target folder, and I'll tell you why I remove it. So if I do ll, the target folder is no longer there. So clear the screen. Now, so I'll cd back. CD back into my. So now the next thing to do now is we are going to install Java and Maven. I told you that Maven depends on Java. Without Java, Maven can't work. And of course, you can remember I told you that this is a Java-based application. So let's first confirm if there is Java installed on this machine. So you can just say Java version. So there's no Java. So it's telling us. So sorry, I put it, there's a typo there. So Java version. So it just tells you that there's no Java installed, okay? It said Java command cannot be found. But he now proposed to us a list of Java that we can install. We have Java 11, 17, 18, 19, up to 21. So I'm going to go with Java 11. Now, when you see Java GRA headless, the headless means that this Java does not have user interface, that even if you install it on your command or if you install it on your computer, you cannot access it through the graphical interface. That is the meaning of headless. So it has given us the command. So I'm going to copy this command, and I'm going to paste it here. I will add -y, and I will install it. So I'm installing Java now. Java is installed. So that is good, that is completed, and we can check it. Java version, you can see it. You say we have Java 11.60 now. So Java is, and we have the runtime installed. So I'll clear the screen. The next thing is to install Maven. So to install Maven, I'll have sudo apt install -y Maven. So this will go to install the latest version of Maven. So I click, and of course, Maven now. So Maven is a lightweight, and that's why quickly it was done. So we can check if Maven is installed. So we can say mvn --- version, and of course Maven 3.63 is installed. So fine. Now we are good to go. We have cloned our repository that contain the source code. We have installed Java. We have installed Maven. Now let's go back into the repo and now work and perform Maven's stages or Maven processes. So I'll cd into the Maven source code. I will clear the screen. Once more, you can see there's no target folder there. Now, the first thing you're going to do is to do Maven compile. When you do Maven compile will run through your code to see if the code has any syntax error or there's any error in the code. That is what it's going to do. So I'll do mvn Maven compile. So it will start the process, it will compile it. Every Maven stages is called build. So it will tell you if the compile stage is completed, it will tell you build is succeeded. So now we have done the Maven compile. So the next thing we are going to do now is to do Maven test. So it's going to do unit test on the code. So move forward, move Maven test. And don't forget, like I told you, if I had not run Maven compile and I just went ahead to run Maven test will first go ahead to run Maven compile first before running the Maven test. So every Maven command will run the one before it runs itself, apart from Maven compile, which is the very first one. So Maven test, and it's going to run, okay, and that is also successful. Now the next thing we are going to do now is to do Maven package. And what Maven package does is Maven package goes ahead to build the application. Okay, Maven package goes ahead to build the application. So let me clear my screen and I will run Maven package. Click enter. Now you can see that's working. And that is also successful. And if you look at it here on this line, it said building war. And look at the final product, Tesla.war. I don't know where to get the Tesla. That is where, that is the name of the artifact. So the name of the artifact is Tesla.war, and it's inside the target folder. And that is why, what I want to explain when I deleted the target folder the other time. So when you run Maven package, Maven is going to build the artifact and it's going to keep it in a file called the target folder. So it's going to be in a directory called target folder. And if you go a little bit up, let me see if to show you. It will have given you from the beginning of the build, okay? Maven will have told you, okay, look at it here. This is the snapshot. It's telling you what it's going to build, okay? A snapshot of the application. So if you go into target folder now, let's clear the screen. Now let's do ls now. You will see now that this target folder has been created. Don't forget, I deleted it the other time. So if you go into target folder now, if you cd into target, and you do ls, now you will see this is the artifact, Tesla.war. So in this case, it is a .war file that was created, and this is the function of the how the source code is written, okay, or was written. So that is why you have this. So it could come out with .jar or it could come out with .ear, okay? Yeah, and that is what we are seeing inside the target folder. So I can see the out of the target folder. Now, oh sorry, yeah, I don't mean to go out completely. Now for us to access this server, we can check this server locally, okay? We can access it locally to see if it actually works. And before we access it, normally when you build an artifact, what you do is to deploy them to another server, a web server that can display them. Such web one example of such web server is a Tomcat server. A Tomcat server is used to publish or to display Java web application. But that will need you to, that is an extra effort because it's going to need you to install and build another server, okay, different from the one you have built. But now there's something called Jetty server. A Jetty server will allow you to locally test your application without setting up server, okay? And so with this application, we can run it on a Jetty server. So let me open this application, cd into Maven, clear the screen, and let me open this application into the editor. So I type code period and I open it. So it's going to open the source code here. So I'm going to close the one at the back and I'm going to expand this. So this is our source, this is our application, okay? So from here now, I can see what Java is, the application. So we say Maven package, and we click enter. So Maven is going to package the application. The application is packaged, and you can see it if you something I wanted to show you. Now, when a Maven package is created, what it's going to do now is it will create a .jar, .war, or .er, as depending on how the language is being written. So let us see. Immediately Maven has completed the package application, what it's going to do is it's going to create a file or a directory called target. Inside target, it's going to put the application. And if you look at the application here, look at it. It build.war. You can see it. So the name it gave to it is Tesla.war. That is the name of the application, and inside the target folder. So let me clear the screen. And if I do LL to know the content, you can see a target folder has been created. Look at the target folder. So if I go into target folder, cd into target, and if I do LL, you can see this is the application Tesla.war. I don't know why they call it Tesla. Anyway, that is the name the developer gave to it. So now we have successfully built the application into a .war. Now let us go ahead and test this application. What is inside this application? Now before we test it, let me quickly show you. You should go into the pom. Okay, sorry. Let me bring down my terminal. If you go into the pom file, there's something called under the plugins. I'll show you something. Under plugins, now there's something called Jetty server. Look at it here, line 24. Jetty server. Now, normally or usually for you to test your Java application artifact, for you to check it to see the application, most of the time you can deploy it onto Tomcat. Tomcat is another server application. Okay, it's another server that can display your artifact. But it's going to be another job for you to go. It's going to be an additional task because you need to set up Tomcat server. But in this case, because of this, with the aid of this Java, this Jetty server, you can run your application locally and you can access it on the browser. So you are going to see me run one command. That command is available, is possible because I have this Jetty, because of this plugin. Okay? If this plugin were not there, or it's not there, this plugin that says org.eclipse.jetty and Jetty Maven plugin, if this is not there, I will not be able to run that command that I'm talking about. So that command will enable us to view our application on the browser. Okay, I think you understand that. So it is because of this plugin. So, and also before we check it, let us see what is the content of this application. What are we expected to see on our browser? Let's go into the main. Let's go into the index.js file. So this is the landing page of the application. So when you store this application, you are going to see you're expected to see SolarVice Technology Institute, blah 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 blah. So that's what you can expect to see. So let's go ahead and run the application. So I'm going to go down. I'm going to move my terminal a little bit up. I'm going to clear my screen, and I'm going to do the command Maven Jetty run. So it's going to run the application locally, and you click enter. So let us see. It's running the application now. Oh. Okay, sorry. Because I'm inside the target folder. I'm not inside the folder where it is. Let me clear the screen to show you. Don't forget, I move into this folder to show you the artifact. Okay, that is not where you're going to run the Maven Jetty command. It's going to be inside the web application that contains the source code. So I'm going to cd out to the next one. I'm going to clear the screen, and I'm going to run the code again, the command again, Maven Jetty run. Click enter, and this time it's running. And then let us see. Okay, and you can see it at the last line. It says what? Started Jetty server. So Jetty server has been started and is going to be running this application. And you can see it from here. Started server connection. It has connected the server over port 8080. Over what? Port 8080. So that means we are going to access it over our port 8080. Let us see if there's any information again that we can see from here. So this is pretty fine. So let us go onto our application now and access this web application. So I'm going to go onto my server. I'm going to open another server and I'm going to type, type http colon // let us go and copy the IP address of the machine. Let us check that. So this is our machine. Copy the IP address and let us put it here. http colon / the IP address, then on port 8080. Enter. Okay, so there is it. And if you click, you can say the context part is this Maven web app. So click on it, and you can see we have the application. Welcome to SonarQube Technology Institute. So this is the application that has just been built. Okay, now I want to try something. I'm going to go into the repository. I'm going to change the code, and we are going to run the application once again, and let us see what we have. So I'm going to go back here. Okay, I'm going to stop the server by pressing Ctrl C to stop it. I'm going to clear my screen. I'm going to go into the landing page. Okay, I'm in the landing page now. Let me change this to, instead of welcome to SonarQube Technology Institute, I will say welcome to the world. Welcome to the world of, you can see I've changed it. I've changed it to welcome to the world of SonarQube Technology Institute. Now, I'm going to go here now. Make sure you save it. My own is in auto save. You can see it. So if you make that changes, you have to make sure you save it. So I'm not going to run. I'm going to package the application again. This time around, I'm not going to do Maven compile, Maven test. I'm just going to do Maven package, and it's going to do every other thing for me. So, but in this case, I'm going to use another command, specific command called Maven clean package. And what does that does? It's going to what? I'm telling him that discard every other packages that you have created before. Because I'm still running the same source code. If I just did Maven package, it will just build on what it has done before and only make these changes. But when you say Maven clean package, it's going to remove all the old build and a clean one. So I'm going to click on this and let us see. It's going to run. It's building it. And now the build is complete. You can see it is faster. Why? Because it has been created before. So I'm going to clear the screen and I'm going to run Maven Jetty again. Maven Jetty run. Okay. So I want Maven Jetty on again. The server has started again. Now let me go back to my application. Look at what we have before. Welcome to SonarQube Technology. I'm going to refresh. And let's see what we have. Now it has changed to welcome to World of SonarQube Technology Institute. So now this shows that this application is working. We are able to test it locally and we have found out that it is working. Now we can now embark on our CI/CD project. So at the end of the CI/CD, after we must have gone through all those processes, now this is what we are supposed to get on our final orchestrator. I believe you enjoyed this. So the next thing now is the CI/CD pipeline of this same project. Now, let's go. So far, we have understood the theoretical workflow of the continuous integration stage, also known as the CI stage or CI pipeline. So for the avoidance of doubt and for the purpose of clarity, I'm going to be running us through using an architectural diagram as seen on the screen. So we said that when we understood that when the developer pushes the code, the source code of the application into the GitHub or into a Git repository, GitHub in this case, the first thing that will happen here is Git will what? Will check out the code. And what does checking out the code means? It means Git will go into the repository, GitHub in this case, and clone or copy. Let me use the word copy and clone the repository onto the Jenkins platform, so that Jenkins tools or associated tools will be able to work on them. Tool like Maven and all that. So the first stage is the Git checkout. So when Git now copy, the correct term is clone this repo onto Jenkins platform, then Maven will now start its own task. And the first task of Maven is Maven compile. And essentially what it does here is to just go through the code to see if there's any errors, such as a syntax error, or if the code is not well arranged, or so stuff like that. That is what compilation will do. And after compile, Maven will go ahead and do Maven test. Maven test is a unit test. That is, Maven will run a unit test on the source code. And what is Maven looking for here? Maven is looking for any form of weaknesses or vulnerability or any weakness that you can see that you can find in the code will also be tested. And after that is done, we will now introduce the first um, security stage, which is Trivy scan. There's a tool called Trivy, which is a security tool that can scan what we call, after this stage has completed and this stage has completed, we are now in the what? In the security stage where we have Trivy. So Trivy is going to scan for what we call CVE. CVE means common vulnerability exposures. So these are exposures that can create a loophole or that can create a weak link in our code through which malicious attack can be launched onto our application, or through we call them attack surfaces through which our application can be hacked or can be attacked. So Trivy is going to look for such vulnerability and weaknesses. Then after that, so in the security scan, we have two things going on there. We have the Trivy scan, and there's something we call SonarQube analysis. So SonarQube is another tool, a security tool for that matter, that analyzes the code. It's going to be looking out for something like code duplication, code smells. It's going to be looking for the coverages, the number of line of code that is coverage in the scan, and it's going to come out with a metric and it's going to display it on a SonarQube server. So essentially, SonarQube contains two components. We have the SonarQube scanner and the SonarQube server. So what I'm saying here is that this SonarQube, it contains what we call the scanner and also the server. Okay, so SonarQube has SonarQube scanner and SonarQube server. So SonarQube scanner is the one that will do the analysis, get the metrics, the indices, and will now display it on the SonarQube server for us to see. Now, after that, there's something we call quality gate check. So after SonarQube analysis has been completed and some metrics and measurement has been taken, then SonarQube gate check will not authenticate if the code passes or fail the standard. So SonarQube quality check is like a benchmark. It's a fail or pass kind of measurement. All it does is just to tell us if SonarQube, the analysis that have been carried out on that SonarQube analysis, if those analysis pass or fail. And this is being defined by the organization and by the DevOps engineer. So after that, then Maven would now come in to complete its job by doing what we call Maven build. So at this stage, Maven will be what? Will be packaging. Maven will be packaging, Maven will be packaging the application. And so when Maven build is completed, it's going to come out with a product we call an artifact. So the product of Maven build is artifact. So now this after every Maven run, an artifact is built. So if this artifact is not saved somewhere, that means every build will overrun the previous build. So what happens is that we have to now save this build in an Artifactory registry so that it can save these continuous builds. So the Artifactory registry we are going to use here is called Nexus. Okay. Another one that is also similar to Nexus is JFrog. Okay, JFrog is another Artifactory registry. So, but in our case here, we're going to be using Nexus. And what Nexus does is to keep record of all those artifacts as Maven is building them. Now, when this artifact is now present and available in the artifact registry, which is Nexus in this form, then Docker can come in to build the image. And when this image is built, then Docker will now also what? Save it in Docker repository or Docker registry, which is DockerHub in this case. And then the continuous integration pipeline is now completed. So this we have said, we will now go ahead to perform automation. We want to automate it using Jenkins. So Jenkins is going to perform all this process. Instead of doing it manually, Jenkins is going to perform them automatically. And that is why we call it a pipeline. So let us jump on our AWS. So before we go there, what are we going to be doing? We are going to set up the server. What are the setup? What do we want to set up? Okay, we are going to set up two EC2 machine. Okay, we are going to set up two EC2 machine. One of them is going to carry our Jenkins. Okay, that one is going to carry Jenkins, and we are going to install some associated requirement or dependencies. And the second EC2 machine, we are going to have two of them. We are going to have two EC2 machine. Okay, and the second one, inside it, we are going to install some tool. The first tool we are going to install is SonarQube. Okay, we are going to install SonarQube on it. We are going to install Nexus also on the same server. And then, of course, we are going to install Docker because we need Docker to run some container. We are going to install Docker on it. So now that we know what we want to do, let us jump on our AWS console and perform some magic. So this is my AWS console. So I'm going to go onto my EC2 machine and I'm going to launch. Also, I'm going to go onto EC2 platform or console and I'm going to launch EC2 machine. So the first one is I'll click on launch and I'm going to call it a server. I'll call it Jenkins server actually. Jenkins server. And I'm going to go with Ubuntu. Let me zoom in a little bit for you to see. I hope you guys can see it. I'll go with Ubuntu. Then I will go with 2204. You can go with 24. That's okay. But I like to use the version before the latest. So I'll confirm it. Then I want my process to be very fast. So I'm going to go for higher. I'm going to go for higher instance of EC2 instant type. I'm going to go for T2 medium. I think that should be fine. And then I'm going to select my existing key pair, which is my default key pair. Then I have a default security group, which I call general security group, and I will tell you what I've done to have that. Then I'm going to give this 40 GIB, and I'm going to launch the server. Now, why do I have that general security group? This is what I've done. Let me open my EC2 in another tab, and I want to show you something. So what I've done is I I took the stock of all common ports that are used in DevOps. So what I did was I created a security group, and I name it General Security Group. Here is it. And I open all the necessary ports. You can see these are all the ports. I opened them and I created it just for my demonstration. Now, you cannot do this in the production environment. This is just for demo sake, but it's going to save you a lot of time instead of creating a security group and opening port. So you can easily select it when you are doing it. So in your own case, you can take screenshot of this and create something like this for yourself. So that is that about it. That's why I selected the security group. Now I have my EC2 is launched, and then I'm going to SSH into it. So I'll click on the ID. I'm going to copy the public IP, and I'm going to go onto my terminal. I'm going to clear my terminal. Then I want to SSH in. So let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, and I'll just do because I've done it before. So this is I want to SSH into the EC2 machine. So I'll say SSH -I. Then this is the path to my key pair. You remember when I picked the key pair, it was default key pair, and the username is Ubuntu. And what is the IP address? That's what I just copy now, and I'm going to supply it. So I'll click enter. I'll type yes to connect, and now we are in the EC2 machine. So I'm going to clear the screen. Whenever you spin up a new EC2 machine, the first thing you want to do is to update the machine. And updating the machine will make available all the packages that are on that VM will be made available for you to use. So it is a good practice and best practice for that matter that you should update it. So I'm going to do that by only the command sudo apt-y update and sudo apt-y apt-y upgrade, and I'll click enter. So while this is working, so we'll wait for this to complete, and the next thing we want to do now is to install Jenkins. Now, to install Jenkins has a requirement, and that requirement is Java. On any server that Jenkins is going to run, Java must be present in that server. So what I'm saying in essence is that Java is a prerequisite for installing and running Jenkins. So the next thing we're going to do now is to install Java on the machine. So we'll wait for it to complete, and we will install Java. So just click here, just select and click OK or enter, and then your machine is complete. So I'll clear the screen. And the next thing I want to install Java, so I will just type Java. And of course, when you get this command, this is telling you that Java is not installed, and it's suggesting to you options that you can install from Java 11 to all the way to 21. But I noticed recently that Java 11 has not been working very well with Jenkins, with the latest version of Jenkins. So I'm going to go um, with um, with Java 17. And whenever you see Java with the headless flag at the back here, it actually means that this Java version does not have a user interface. It does not have a graphical user interface. That is what headless means. So I'm going to place it, and I'm going to type -y, and I'm going to install. So that Java is being installed. So while this is running, let me go and get the configuration for my Jenkins. So I'll just go onto my console. I will open another tab, and I will type Jenkins install. I'll click enter. So just take the first one that under Linux, click on that. Then my machine is Ubuntu Debian. I'll click on it, and just scroll down. And the one that says long-term support release is a stable one, so you can copy it. So I'm going to copy it, and I will go back to my terminal. So my Java is completed. I will clear the screen, and I will watch. I will hit enter, and now Jenkins is beginning to install. Yes. So let's wait for Jenkins to install now. So when Jenkins is installed, then we are going to start with the configurations. Okay. Now we can decide to run. If I'm doing this on my own, I can decide to spin all the servers at the same time. I mean, setting up the Java for SonarQube, for Nexus, all at the same time. But for the purpose of understanding, I want you to follow, step by step. So I'm going to be doing them, and we are going to be spinning up the each of the servers when they are needed. So now we are dealing with Jenkins. So I'm going to clear the screen. Jenkins is running, and we need to check if Jenkins is running. So we have to check using this command sudo systemctl status Jenkins. I will click enter, and of course you can see that Jenkins is active and running and is enabled. And whenever you see it enabled, it means that when Jenkins.service is enabled, it means that anytime the VM restarts, Jenkins will also restart. So now that we have our Jenkins, we can go ahead and access it on our browser. So I will go to my EC2 machine, which is here. I will copy the so why is it aligned? Why is it saying we should sign in again? Is it not the same one? Okay, let's quickly sign in. I don't know what happened. I will sign in. Let me quickly use my two-factor authenticator. Let's quickly sign in. So after signing in now, I'll copy the IP address and we'll go and access it. So my code is 637964. Okay, so we have that. Just click on EC2 running instance. I will click on it. Then I will copy the IP. I will go to another. I can close this. I will go to another tab. Then I'll paste the IP. And Jenkins is on 8080, I think. Yes, I think it's on 8080. So this is our Jenkins. So now the first thing is to get the admin password, and the admin password is present in this part that is being provided. If you look at it, to ensure Jenkins is running, you set up by an administrator, the password has been written in this way. So we can copy this part and we'll go back to our terminal, okay, and we will cut out, of course, the content of that file. You can use sudo, you can use cat, or you can use less, or you can use more. Any of these commands will work. So I'm very sure you are used to cat. Let us try less. Sudo less, then that command. Let us see if it's going to work. So you can see that is the IP address. Sorry, that is the password that is being given to us. And if you don't want to use that, you can use other thing. Take note of the password. It ended with 7B8F. So I'm going to cancel it. Sorry, I'm going to cancel it. I'm going to clear the screen, and I want to use cat. Sudo cat, and this is sudo cat. Let me just use up arrow. Okay, instead of less, I want to use cat, just to tell you that you can use any of those. If I use cat, and of course you can see this is the same IP address, 7BF. Also, if you want to use more, all these are all command that you can use to read out. So you can see we have everything. You can use any of them. So I'm going to copy the IP, and I'm going to go back to the Jenkins. I'm going to provide the IP. I'll click continue. I don't want to save it. Now Jenkins, this is the page, and it has us to install the plugins. Now it is advisable that you allow Jenkins to install plugins by itself, and if there's any plugin that is not there, we can now add it later. So I'll click on install suggested plugin, This is going to take a couple of minutes, so I will just pause the video and return when the installation is complete. Okay, the installation is completed, and now the next thing is for us to create admin information. So the username I'm going to do Felix01. That is my username that I want to use, and the password I'll just put 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 just for demo purpose. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. And the full name I'll just put this, and email you can just put any email. It doesn't really matter. Okay, and you click on save and continue. Then it will let you know this is the server URL. If you agree with it, which is yes. If you look at the address point, that is the correct server URL. You click save and continue and start using Jenkins. Now this is the landing page of Jenkins. Now, after you have logged into Jenkins, so the next thing to do now is to start configurations. And for you to start configuration, you need to install certain plugins that you need to run your job. What Jenkins has done at the first instance is to install the required plugins, but there are some plugins that you need to make your work done. So in this case, our project is a Maven project. Of course, we need a Maven tool. So the first thing we want to do is to install Maven tool. So we are going to go to Manage Jenkins. Okay, under Manage Jenkins, we are going to go to Plugins. Okay, and under Plugins, you go to Available Plugins, and we're going to look for Maven. And we're going to look for Maven integration. There's another one that is called Pipeline Maven integration. If you like, you can install that one. But the main one is what? Maven integration. And I'm going to install it. Okay, that is a quick one. And of course, it's installing. So let's give it a few seconds. If you want your Jenkins to restart after installing, you will click on this, but we don't really need it here. So Maven has been installed. So now, when you install a tool, okay, there are so many things that you can install on Jenkins. You can install server, you can install tool. Whenever you install tool, you now have to go to the tool section to configure or set up that tool. So in this case now, we'll go back to our Manage Jenkins, and we'll go to Tools, and we'll go to what? We'll look for Maven installation. Okay, if you look at it, Maven installation at the bottom. So you're going to go to Add Maven. And what is the name you want to give to your Maven? Let us give it Maven 3. And we have a version here, version 3.99. We are going to go with it. There are a lot of versions here, but let us go with the default 3.99. And the name of the Maven is Maven 3 that we give to it. You can give it any name, but you have to be mindful of the name you give. So we are going to apply, and we are going to save it. So now we have configured Maven. Now, the next thing is to start our pipeline. To start a pipeline, you will go to this item called new items. You click on new item, and you give it a name. What is the name of the project? I want to call it Maven Web App. Maven Web App. Okay, this is what I want to call my project, and I'm going to be using pipeline type. I will click OK. Now, the first thing you want to do is that each time you build your project, there's going to be a build number. So the first thing you want to set is how many of these builds do you want to keep. It is not good to keep so many of them, because one is going to hit into your memory, and it's going to run your system slow, and also it's going to make your dashboard too clumsy. So in my own case, I will click on discard hold build. I will only keep just one. I just want to keep one build at a time, and I'm also going to keep maximum of one at a time. Okay, so that is that. Now the next thing that I want to do now is we're going to move to our Maven pipeline, Maven script. Okay, I will expand this. Now we want to start to write our pipeline. So if you don't know how to write pipeline, no problem. There is a simple way. Just follow, and you will see how easy it is to write Jenkins pipeline. So what you can do is, you have two options to support you in writing your pipeline. One of the options is right at the top here. You can see where it says try sample pipeline. This is going to give you a syntax, a standard syntax of the pipeline. And also there's another one down here that we call pipeline syntax. You are going to use that and you're going to see it. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to click on the hello world. So this is how generally the syntax of all Jenkins pipeline look like. So what is our first stage? The first stage is, if you go back to our pipeline, what is the first stage? The first stage of any pipeline is what? Git checkout. And what happened in this case? Git will go into repository, Jenkins will go into Git repository and clone the repo. And that is what we want to do now. So we'll come here. In the first stage, we'll give it the name. And what is the name? Git checkout. And how does Git checkout here? What is the command to make Git checkout? We don't know it, but there's something to help us. We'll come to what? Pipeline syntax. Click on that. It's going to open in another tab. And you will come here under sample step. What step do you want to take? I want to take a step called Git checkout. We have two options to do that. You can either use checkout. Let me look for it. You can either use checkout Git or you can use Git. I'm looking for it. Okay, look at it here. Checkout from version control. You can use this, and you can also use this one, Git. Both of them are okay for this stage. But let me go with Git. So if I go with Git, so it's asking me which of the repository do I want to check out. So I'll go to my repo. Let me click my repo here. I don't know if I have this repo. No. Let me open my repository here. Felix. Okay. And where is the repo? I think this is Maven app. I think this is the repository. Okay, that is the repo. So I'm going to copy the URL and I'm going to go to my syntax and I'm going to provide the URL. Now, this URL, this is the URL of the Git repository. If this Git repository is a private repo, then you are going to have something we call credential. You are going to need a credential to allow Jenkins to integrate or to authenticate with the GitHub. But in this case, this is a public repo, and so no credential is required. Also, what branch are you cloning from? If you go back to my repo, you can see it is from the what? From the main branch. So I'll come here and change this master to main. And of course, I told you there's no need for credential, and that is all. So you just click on what? Generate script. And that is the code for you. So you copy it. It's as simple as that. Copy the code, then go to your Maven step, and you're going to put it here. You're going to replace all of this, and you're going to paste it. So this is the step that will do our Git checkout. Now, let us go ahead and test this step. So I'm going to save it. Okay. And I'm going to go to my my console and I'm going to click on build now. So let us see. A job will start, you can see now, and that job will be completed. But now I want us to see something. You can see it was successful. If you go to your console output, you can see that, look at this stage, cloning the repository. I told you that Git will go and clone it. So Git, the pipeline is telling me that this pipeline was started by me, which is Felix M. And remember, that is the name I give to it. And what it actually done is cloning the repository. Now, there's something that makes our pipeline stages to look very beautiful. Let us go and install that plugin so that we can see the stages. So before we continue this process, I'm going to go back to my dashboard, and I'm going to go to what? Manage Jenkins, and I'm going to go to plugins. You can see it. I can just go directly to plugins, and I'll go on to available plugins, and that thing is called pipeline view. Okay, pipeline view. You can see pipeline stage view is here. So I'm going to install it. Okay, let's just install it, that one for now. There's something called Blue Ocean that I will also introduce later. but let us click on this. Okay, and at the same time, let me just do Blue Ocean. Blue Ocean is another pipeline that make your workflow look so beautiful. But let me quickly let's see if I can install that. Blue Ocean. Okay, you can see. Let's just install the Blue Ocean itself. Blue Ocean. It's a whole lot, but I think this one comprises of all of the plugins. There are so many plugins for Blue Ocean, but I think this one. So let me, but for for avoidance of doubt, let me Blue Ocean dashboard, uh, Blue Ocean pipeline implementation for Blue. Let me also use this. Okay, and if it doesn't give us what we want, we can always come back. So I'll click here and install. So it's good to install all these plugins as well. There are a lot of them. Okay, now it's installed. So I'm going to go back to my dashboard, and I'm going to go to my job again. Okay, I'm going to go on my, and you can see this thing wasn't there the other time. So this is what our pipeline stage view will show us. And if you want to see the same thing on Blue Ocean, we are going to see it. But let us go ahead and do the next stage, then we can see them all together. So I'll go back to configure. Now, what is the next stage in our pipeline? The next stage in our pipeline, if you go back to the pipeline, is what? Maven compile. It is what? Maven compile and Maven test. So we are going to do this two stage all at once. So I'll go back to my pipeline and I'll create the next stage of pipeline. How can I create the next stage? I will copy this stage up to the next two brackets after it, and I will add it to my stage. I will add it, and I will also add it to the next stage. So I've added two more stages. And what is the next stage? The next stage is what? Maven compile. So I'll just call it compile. Okay. And how do we compile? Only use the command. Anytime you want to run a command that is going to run on a shell terminal, you are going to use the annotation sh, and you're going to put the command in a quote. And the command here is Maven compile. Remember when we were testing locally, we ran this command, Maven compile. So this stage is going to compile our source code. And what is the next one? Maven test. Let's call it unit test. And what is the command for that one? Just like what we have above, we are going to put sh quote Maven test. Okay, now we have this tool. Now, something very important you need to note here. Whenever you want to use a tool in Jenkins, you can implement it in two ways. One, it is either you install that tool directly on the same server where Jenkins is installed, or you install that tool as a plugin if it exists. There are some tools that we are going to see when we get to Trivy. There is no Trivy plugin in Jenkins, so we have to install it directly as a tool on the on Jenkins server. But in case of Maven now, remember we installed Maven in our we install Maven plugin on our Jenkins. So whenever you install a tool as a plugin and you want to use it in Jenkins, then you have to define it. You have to tell Jenkins where to find it. So in that case, we have to go and define our Maven. So we go up here, and let me zoom out a little so that you can see it. So we are going to go up here after any agent. We're going to tab, and we are going to do tools. Okay, we are going to do tools, and we are going to open bracket. Inside it, we are going to name our tools. What's our tool? Maven. And what is the name of the Maven? Remember, when we configure it, we give it a name. And what is the name? The name is what? Maven 3. So Maven 3 is the name. So you are telling Jenkins that I have a tool, Maven, that I've configured, and the name is Maven 3. So this will allow Jenkins to identify this tool and use it to perform this test. So I will apply now. I will apply. I will save it. Then we can now go to our pipeline and build again. So let us see. So the second pipeline has started. It has seen, I declare it true. That's why I saw the true here. And it's on Git checkout now. It has checked out the true. Now it has compiled and it has tested it. Now let us see how it look like in Blue Ocean. Let me open my Blue Ocean in another tab. So if I open my Blue Ocean, so look at it. And if I click here, you can see this how beautiful your pipeline can be using Blue Ocean. Okay. And Blue Ocean allow you to make some changes. If an artifact is built, we are going to see it. Look at the test that has been carrying on because we didn't archive and there's no change that has been made. This is the pipeline. And then we can see so many other things. If a particular stage is failed, you can start only the stage that has failed from here. So we are going to see all of that later. So this is the work of the Blue Ocean plugin that we install. We are going to talk more about it. Now, the next thing, if we go back to our pipeline, the next thing is, so instead of using the Snap package, like I said, Snap usually take a lot of time. So we just go to our home page, okay, and we'll search for install Trivy Ubuntu. Let's click on this. I will click on Debian Ubuntu, and this is the command for that. So we just copy that command, and then we're going to go back to our terminal and we'll paste it. I think I've installed it before, so let's see. I'll click this, and it's installed Trivy, and Trivy is installed. Let's clear the bracket, and let's check Trivy iPhone version. I think that's it. Okay, so we have Trivy installed version 0.61. So now Trivy is now installed on the same server where Jenkins is installed. So we can now go onto our pipeline and use Trivy. So we'll go back to pipeline. That's our pipeline. Where is it? I think this is our pipeline. So let's go back to Jenkins dashboard, Maven. Then we'll go to configure. And the next thing now is Trivy file scan. So I'm going to come back here. And just the same way, I'm going to copy another stage up to the next two curly bracket. I'll copy it. I'll enter. And I'll paste it. And I will name this what? Trivy file scan. Trivy FS, which is the common one. Trivy file scan. And now, what is the command for that? It's going to be in SH2, and I'm going to reveal this. And what is the command? The command is Trivy FS, which means file scan iPhone format. So I'm saying Trivy, go and scan the file and give me the result in a particular format. And what is this format? I want it to be in a tabular format. So I will say in the format table. Okay. And when you have given me the format in the table, iPhone O, I want you to give me the output in a file called fs report fs.report.html. So listen, let me explain what this means to you. I'm saying I want to perform Trivy file scan. And the command here says, Trivy, go and scan the file, give me the result in a tabular format, and give the output in a file. And the name of the file is fsreport.html. And now you have to tell Trivy, where is this code that you want to scan? This code, if you go into our repository, you can see that my source code, this is my source code here, is in the same directory as as every other file here. So you just simply tell Jenkins to look for the directory. So I've just put period. You see it? I just put period so that the file you are scanning is in the current directory. Okay, so we are going to run this. So I will go there, I will apply, I will save, and I will build now. So let's see, another pipeline has started. So it's running, unit test again, and it's doing the Trivy file scan now. And of course, that is successful. So if you look at it here, let us do the console output. If you do the console output here, you are going to see a Trivy file scan. So look at it here. This is the report of the file scan, and it's going to generate this result in. Let's look for something here. If you go here, look at something called workspaces. If you click on workspaces, and if you click on this, you see this is the report. You can see this is the report, and this can go for further analysis for security evaluation. Okay, so but that's not what we are here for now. So that is the report, and now this is every other thing that we can see here. So we are going to see, and we can also see this in Blue Ocean. If you look at it in Blue Ocean, you click on Maven app, and you click on the app and click on pipeline. See, this is your Trivy scan here, and you should drop it. You see, this is the result in your Blue Ocean. So now let's go back to Jenkins. I can go back here to Jenkins. You can see I just exit, and I will go back to my app. So what is the next stage? Now, if you go back to our pipeline, the next stage now is what? SonarQube analysis. Now, a new tool has come in now. So, and don't forget in my explanation, I told you that SonarQube has two components: the SonarQube scanner and the SonarQube server. So the SonarQube scanner will do the vulnerability scanning, and will produce the result or display the result on the SonarQube server. So the next thing we want to do now is to set up is to perform SonarQube analysis. So before we can perform SonarQube analysis, we need SonarQube scanner and SonarQube server. SonarQube scanner will do the scanning. SonarQube server will display the result. So the SonarQube scanner can be installed as a plugin on Jenkins, but the SonarQube server needs to be set up independently as a standalone server. So the first thing we're going to do now is that let's first go and set up our SonarQube server. So we are going to go on our AWS console and spin up another EC2 that will house our SonarQube server. So I'm going to go down, and I'm going to open my EC2 instance, and I'm going to come here, launch another instance, and I'll call this one SonarQube. Okay, I'm going to join it along with Nexus. I'm going to install Nexus on this same server. So let me just make it SonarQube Nexus. Okay, so that because I just want us to run minimum server. Now, some people decide to use different server for SonarQube, different server for Nexus, different server for Jenkins. That is fine, but for best practices, because the number of server you have, the more your configuration, because you need to integrate and authenticate these servers. So try to minimize the number of server you have. So it's, instead of having multiple server, have a single server with higher capacity that can run those things. So I'm going to name this SonarQube and Nexus server. So, and same way, I'm going to go with Ubuntu. I like to go with a version before. So I'll go with 22.04, confirm changes. So I'll go with T2 large. It doesn't matter. I'll go with T2 large because of what I want to put on it. Then I will use the same key pair that I've used before. Then I will select my general security group, which has contained all the necessary ports. Then I'm going to give this 50 GB because of what I want to put on it. And I'm going to, do I need any other thing? I don't need any other server, so let me just launch this single server. So I will launch it, and let's wait for it to connect. So the server is launched, so let's go and connect to the server. So the server is running, so SonarQube server. I will click on this, collect the IP. I will go back to my terminal, and I'm going to open a new terminal, a new page. Now, let me name it for understanding's sake. Now, this is the first one. The first one, that is where, for us to know where our Jenkins is. For us to confirm the real one, let me run my Jenkins here. If you look at it, this is where we have run our server before. So you should know. So let me name it Jenkins. So I will name it, and I'll call it Jenkins. Okay. And I'm going to name this one Sonar Nexus. Okay. For identification. So on the SonarQube server now, like I've told you, let me zoom in a bit. I've told you that any server you spin in, the first thing you want to do is you update and upgrade to sudo apt-y update and sudo apt-y upgrade. You click enter. Oh, why is it asking for a new password? Sudo apt-y update, sudo apt-y upgrade. That's fine, but I don't expect it to be asking me for this. Okay, so this is running now. So while this is running, the next thing we are going to do is to install our SonarQube server. Now, I'm going to be installing SonarQube server using a Docker container. I'm going to be using SonarQube Docker container. Why am I using that? It is easier to run tools in container. If you want to run server, it is easier to run them in container because container is very light and it can speed up very fast. Instead of doing the traditional installation, we are going to be using Docker container to run it. So before we can use Docker container to run it, that means we need Docker to be on that machine. So the first thing we are going to do now is to install Docker. Okay? The first thing we are going to do on this machine when it is completed is to install Docker. So we are waiting for it to boot. If it's taking time, I will just pause, and when it comes, I will return when it's completed. So that is completed, and then the upgrade is completed now. So let's clear the screen. So like I said, the next thing now is, since we are going to be running we are going to be installing our SonarQube using Docker container, we need to install Docker on this server. So I'll just type Docker, and you tell me, okay, Docker is already. Oh, sorry. I'm not supposed to even upgrade it. I'm supposed to connect to the machine. I've not connected to the Ubuntu machine, so I'm very sorry. So let's connect to our to the machine. So I'll go and copy the IP. This is the IP. So I've been doing the wrong thing all along. So now let's connect to it. Okay. Yes. Okay. So this is where we are now, and this is where we're supposed to do upgrade and update. So I'm very sorry. Sudo apt-y update and sudo apt-y upgrade, and that's it. So this is where we are now. Okay, so when this is done, we install Docker. So I'm sorry, I was actually updating the WS terminal instead of the Ubuntu. So all right, so that is installing now, and then very fast. Let's give it a few seconds more. So you just click enter, and that is completed now. The upgrade is completed, so I will clear the screen. Sorry. So I'll clear the screen. And the next thing to do is to install Docker. So I'll just type Docker. So it will tell you Docker is not available. So, but there's a command to install Docker here. So I can install Docker, docker.io. I'll copy, paste. I'll put -y and install. So it's going to install Docker. Now, when Docker is installed, it is only the root user that will have access to perform Docker command. So in that case, so Docker is installed now, we can complete. And if you like, you can check Docker version, and that doesn't really matter. Docker version, you can see Docker is installed. So now, if I try to use Docker command, let me say the command Docker PS to check the container that are on it, you will see I'm going to get an error because it is only whenever you install Docker, it is only the the root user that have access to use Docker. So for you to allow the current user, which is Ubuntu, to use it, then you need to add Ubuntu to Docker group. So in that case, you're going to use the command sudo user mode. That's a user modification. -a capital G Docker, then $user. $user means the current user. Okay, and you click enter. So now this has added Ubuntu, which is the current user. As you can see, Ubuntu at the back here is the current user have added to the Docker group. Now, but this action that you have just performed does not automatically effective. So what you need to do is either you log out of the machine and log in back, or you can just run in another command called new group Docker. So this command will do the same job as when you log out and log in. And you click enter, and if you clear the screen, and if I run that command again now, if I run that command again, Docker PS, if I run Docker PS again, sorry, I don't know why it's not coming up. Docker PS, and you can see now it gave me a response, so Docker can now be used. So the next thing now is to install, is to run SonarQube. And you're going to run SonarQube using the Docker run command. So I'm going to do Docker run. Let me zoom a little bit, maybe you can see it. So I'll do Docker run -d, that is to run in the detached mode. Name. What is the name I want to give to my server? I'll just call it Sonar server -p. -p, then on what port is SonarQube running? It's running on port 9000 colon 9000. Here, the first 9000 is the host, and the other 9000 is the container port. Now, if I don't, now I'm assigning a port to the container. If I want container to choose its own port by itself, I will just remove all of this and I will do capital P. If I do capital P without adding anything, then the container will use its Docker will use its own discretion to append what we call it, ports to it. It's going to look for a random port that is available and assign it to your container. But in my own case, I want a specific port, which is 9000 colon 9000. And then what is the Docker image that I want to use? SonarQube, SonarQube colon LTS. LTS is the long time support, which is a stable one, and I'm going to be using the community version. Okay, I will click enter, and this will run the container. So the container is running now, and as you can see it, you can see this is the container telling you that the container is running successfully. And if you do Docker PS that we used before, Docker PS, you will see that a SonarQube container is running 15 seconds ago. It's been up for 11 seconds, and it's accessible on TCP port 9000. So I'm going to copy the IP address now and go to this port to access my SonarQube server. So I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to copy my IP address, and I'm going to go onto another server. and I'll paste this and put the port 9000. And I click enter. And that is my SonarQube coming up. Okay, so SonarQube is starting. Let's allow it to come up. So it's almost there. So SonarQube is coming. And when we first log in, I think the password is admin. Admin is the default password. Username is admin, password is admin. Okay, so we can now create our own password. So I'll put password here, never to save. So I'll call this one. The whole password is admin. So the new one, I'll just give a simple password 123456. 123456, and I'll update the password. So now we are logging into what? SonarQube server. So this is the SonarQube server. Okay. Now we also need to go onto Jenkins and install SonarQube scanner. So we'll go to Jenkins and install the SonarQube scanner. Okay. And there too, we can also configure the SonarQube server because Jenkins needs to talk to SonarQube. Because when the SonarQube analysis is done on Jenkins, Jenkins will need to send the report back to SonarQube. Okay, so let's go back to Jenkins. Okay, so where is our Jenkins? Okay, let's go back to Jenkins, and I'll go to dashboard. I will go to manage Jenkins, and I will go to plugins, available plugins, and I will type SonarQube. Okay, and you can see SonarQube scanner, and that is what I'm going to install. So I will install SonarQube scanner. Okay, I think that one is installed very fast. So I will go back to manage Jenkins, and now I will go to system. Now you have to differentiate between system and tool. Whenever you want to configure tools, you go to under tool. But whenever you want to configure servers, you go to under system. Now we need to configure SonarQube server. So we are still going to come out of it, but let me show you something. So if you click here, you should click on system. Okay, if you click on system and you scroll towards the down, you are going to see SonarQube. Just because we have installed that, you can see add SonarQube. You can see SonarQube servers. So we are going to add SonarQube server. But now, for us to have SonarQube server, we need authentication. And you can see there's no any authentication here. So we need to create authentication. So for us to create authentication, we have to go to credential. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to my manage Jenkins, and I'm going to go to credentials. You can see it. You can see from here, from the drop down, look at it. This is manage Jenkins, and look at the drop down credential. Or if you like, just click on manage Jenkins. If you click on manage Jenkins, you are going to see credential here. Look at it, credential. You click on it, and you click on global, and you click on add credential. And here you're going to use the secret type, secret file type, and you're going to call it Sonar. I can call it anything, but I want to call it Sonar token. So, and I'm going to go to my SonarQube. I'm going to go to my SonarQube, and I'm going to generate a token. That token will serve as an authentication onto from Jenkins to SonarQube. So how do I do that? I will click on admin. I will click on security. I will click on user, and if you see here, you see on that token, I will click on generate token. So I'll just give it a name. I can just give it a token if I like. It doesn't. The name doesn't really matter. I'll click token, and I'll click on generate. So this is the token now. I'll copy it. You can only see it once. You can see it says you should make copy because you won't be able to see it again. So copy, and you can save it. Let me just quickly save it here. Just open another pad, and I will say Sonar token. And I'll just paste it here in case I need it. So I will go back to my Jenkins. I think I have a lot of Jenkins. Okay, so Sonar token, and so secret file. Yeah. No, what is going on here? Oh, secret test. I'm sorry. Secret test. Then you paste the secret here, which is the token, and the name will be Sonar token. I'm very sure you understand what I've just done. Please don't get confused. Let me take you back. This is what I did. I click on Jenkins, manage Jenkins, and I went to system. But because I'm going to need credential a system, I went to configure credential first. So I click on credential, and I click on global, and I click on hard credential. And what type of credential do I want? Secret test. And what is the secret test? That is the token that I've copied. I paste it. And what is the notation? I call it Sonar token because that is SonarQube token. And the name, the description does not really matter, but you can put it there. SonarQube token. It does not really matter. SonarQube token. Okay, and we are going to create it. So I've created this token. Now I can go back to my system. Sorry, I can go back to my manage Jenkins, go back to system. Then I can now go and configure my server. So this is my SonarQube server, hard SonarQube. What is the name? I want to call it Sonar server. That is the name I want to call it. And what is the server URL? So I'm going to put the SonarQube server URL here. So I'll come back here. I'll copy my URL up to the port 9000. Then I will go back to my server. I'm going to paste it here. Make sure you remove this last forward slash. Make sure you remove it. And you click here, and you can see the token we just configure. SonarQube token. Oh, is there no? Yeah, I expect it to be. I expect it to be. I don't want it to. I want it to be a single, a continuous word. I don't want a separation there. Server token. Please let me just go back. Let me go back to confirm what I've done. Yes, leave. I'll go back to credential. Yeah, global. The ID. Yeah, I don't want description. I just want the ID. Yeah, Sonar token, please. Let me update it. Sonar token. That is what I want. I don't want any Sonar token. Sonar token. You can even leave if you like. You can leave out the description. And let us save. And I'm going to go back to credential. I think we don't have it. Sonar token. So let us go back to our manage Jenkins system. I'm sorry for taking you back. System, hard SonarQube. And what is the name? I want to call it Sonar server. And the URL, I think I still have it. URL, remove the last bar. And the authentication is Sonar token. So this is the way I want it. And then we can now save and apply. Okay. So now I have set up my SonarQube server. Now let us go back to our pipeline, and we can now create the next stage. And don't forget, let me remind you, the next stage is what? SonarQube analysis. So I'm going to come here, I'm going to click on my project and click on configure, and I will go to my pipeline, move it down. I'm going to copy another stage as usual, and I will copy it, create the next line, and I will enter, I will paste, and I want to call this stage SonarQube analysis. SonarQube analysis. Okay. Now, what are we going to be doing under SonarQube analysis? Now, we have to create a syntax for it. And how do we do it? We'll go to our pipeline syntax, which is already here. I think it's already here. So you are going to go with something like that says with SonarQube environment. So you are going to look for with SonarQube environment. It should be somewhere there with SonarQube environment. I hope you can see it. With SonarQube environment. Let me refresh because we have not installed it before. With SonarQube environment, let's look for it. SonarQube environment. See it. I'm going to close and open it again. Let me close this. I'm going to click on pipeline and I'm going to click on this because when we open the other one, we have not installed SonarQube. So I expect maybe that's why we didn't see it. That's the string to me with SonarQube environment. It's not this. Maybe it's not this. Okay. Set environment. No. Sonar. Yeah, I'm looking for that. I can't find it. Yeah, this is strange. So I can't find it. Okay. So I don't. We are. I think we are yet to configure SonarQube scanner. So what we have just done is we have configured SonarQube server. Don't forget I told you that SonarQube has two components, the server and the scanner. We have configured the server. We need to do the scanner. That is why we are not seeing that option. So let's go back and do. Let's go back and do SonarQube scanner. So let's go back to our manage Jenkins. Then go to under tools and then we'll look for Sonar Scanner. Okay, look at it here. Sonar Scanner installation. So you had SonarQube Scanner and let's call it Sonar Scanner. And we already have the version. We have different version. Let's just go with the version we have here and let us apply and save it. Let us apply and save. And let's go back to our dashboard. Let's go back here. So I'm going to close this. Let's go back to our configure and go back to our pipeline. I'll click on pipeline syntax. Now let's look at, so we want to configure the syntax or the command for the stage now. So let's look for with SonarQube, with something like that, with SonarQube environment, something like that. That is what we are going to look for with SonarQube environment. Surprised I can't see it. Sonar. This is a bit strange. Should be around here. I can't still find it. No, not this. Okay, let me try to. What is going on here? Let me try to restart my SonarQube. Let me try to restart it. Restart. Yes. So I'm restarting SonarQube because I can't see that option. That option is what we need to generate the stage for SonarQube, and I'm surprised why it's not coming up because we have installed the server, we have configured the server, and we have configured the. So I'm going to log in. The 081, and I think I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think that is what I said. Oh, 081, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so that is it. So let's go back to the app. Let's go to configure. syntax again, and I'm going to look for that. If it's not there, then I will just go back to check. Okay, you can see it now. It's there with SonarQube environment. That is what I'm looking for. So we select it, and we come here, we select the token, and that is what we need. And we generate, and this is the syntax that we need. So we are going to copy everything. I will go back to our pipeline, and under SonarQube analysis, we are going to paste it here. Paste. And we are going to remove this block. And we can take this one back. Okay. Now, what essentially this is done is SonarQube wants you to provide URL and the credential. That is why you have this format. That's why you see credential ID. But it is not safe for you to put your credential here. So what we'll just do is we'll just put the name. We'll just put the name that we use to configure the server. Okay? And what do we call it? Sonar server. Let me show you. If you have forgotten, I will just duplicate it and I will show you. If you go back to your dashboard, manage Jenkins, and you go to system, you remember when we set up the SonarQube, and look at the name we gave to it, Sonar server. So when you put this Sonar server there, automatically it's going to put the URL and the token. Instead of you to be writing your URL and your token in your pipeline where it's not safe, when you just put this name there, Sonar server, then it's going to automatically recognize it as with URL and the token. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to just remove all this and I will just put Sonar server. Don't forget that is the name. Look at the name here, Sonar server. And that is what I'm going to put here, Sonar server. But like I told you that whenever you install a tool that you want to use, it is important that you're going to define it as an environment. You need to tell Jenkins where to put that tool. Don't forget your scanner. You did not install scanner on your EC2 instance. You install scanner as a plugin. So you need to tell your Jenkins where to get that scanner to use. And in that case, you have to go under the scanner tool here, just under your Maven, and you are going to create something we call environment. Environment. You're going to click environment. Okay, you're going to have this open bracket in front of it. Okay, and you're going to go inside it, and under the environment, you are going to write scanner home. That is, you're going to create a variable scanner underscore home, and that scanner underscore home equals to the tool you want to use. And what is that tool? We call that tool Sonar Scanner. If you don't forget, you should come back here and you go back to manage Jenkins and you go to under tool and you go to under your Maven. What do you call your scanner? Your SonarQube scanner, you call it what? Where is it? Sonar Scanner. I don't see. If I click on it, you can see it's Sonar Scanner. That's what you call it. So that is the name you are going to put here, Sonar Scanner. Okay, so let me just copy it. Sonar Scanner. That is what you are going to put here in column, in quote, Sonar Scanner. Okay, so you are telling Jenkins to, whenever you want to use a scanner in home, come here and look for this name. Okay, so when you do this, you can now go back to your stage and define that environment. And what is the environment? We are going to come here, going to come inside here, and we are going to type sh, because that is the command we want to run now. We are going to type sh, and because we are going to be typing multiple command at this stage, so we are going to be using 3 quotes. Okay, and another 3 quotes. So I'll go in between them. and that is where I'm going to type now. Okay, so this does not really matter. I can do, let me just do Control C. Okay, so now the first thing I want to type now is I want to call the um, the environment I've just created here. This environment, I want to call it. I want to use it here. So how do you call environment? You should remember how to use an environment. We'll put dollar, then the name of that environment, scanner underscore home, and slash bin. That is the where the binaries are, the binary that are needed, and sonar scanner, sonar scanner. Okay, and we have this command that tells us what is the name of our project. So you put it -d sonar dot project name with capital N, as name. And what is the project name? And we call it web app. Okay, let's call it web app. And then a backward slash, so that it's a continuous line. It's a continuous command. But if you continue to write, it's going to be too long. So this backward slash just tell you that this line, I'm going to write it on the next line, but it's continuous. So then you go to the next line. We can continue. And what is it on the next line? You also go to write this sonar dot, this is capital D, this sonar dot binaries or dot project key now. The project key, capital K. And project key can be any name, but I just want to be consistent, so I'm also going to put web app there. Okay, and I'm also going to put continuous line. And then what is the next thing? This sonar, the binaries. Okay, binaries now. This sonar dot java dot binaries. This one is standard, so you don't have to bother yourself, just know it, and equals. Now you can see that those binaries, I showed you the target folder the other time. That is where the artifact is going to be, so you put it as target, and that is it. Okay, so you have completed this the command, and the next thing now is to save it, and let's try and run the command. So I think everything is fine, so I'm going to apply, save, and I'm going to build now. And let us see. So, the build one, the build immediately. So let us see what is the. Let us see. I think it's going to be syntax error. Yeah, whenever that's why whenever there is syntax error, the code will not even start at all. So let us see what error we are having. He said code loop says, oh my god, you can see it's a typo. Look at the environment I wrote. I wrote even. So let's go there and correct it. So we're going to go back to our terminal. Sorry, I'm going to come here. I'm going to go back to configure, and I'll go back here, and I will just correct it. This is environment. Environment. I think that is it. So I will save and apply again, and I will build again. So let's see. So the job has started. So the fifth one has started. Let's see. SonarQube analysis now. If it fails, we will try to troubleshoot. If it passes, that is fine. We'll continue from there. So it's taking longer, but probably being for the first time. So and that pass, that is good. So if now, so the SonarQube analysis has gone through now. So if you go back to SonarQube and we're done with token, if we go to project, you're going to see we have a result here. Okay, so we have about 10 bugs in our code. There's no vulnerability, that's why I gave it A. Then there's no host review. We have 8 code smells, and we have about 15% of the code is duplicated, and it covers about 308 lines of. Okay, so this is the report you got from it, but it was passed based on this. So now we are now going to pass these configurations through what we call quality code check. So it is the quality code check that will now conclude if this has met the standard or not. Okay, and how do we check quality code check? Now, a quality gate check, if you look at up here, look at it, quality gate. A standard has been set by default. Look at it. Look at this means this. This is the default. And what is the default? The standard here says the coverage is less than 80. That is, if the coverage is less than 80%, the pipeline should fail. Then the duplication must not be more than 3%. Don't forget, we already have our duplication here. If you go back to our SonarQube project, it has told us that we have 15.7% of our code are duplicated. And if you look at quality gate is saying that duplication line is greater than 3%. So telling you that it's working as a base ground of 3%. So it's going to pass it or fail it when it passes through it. And we have so many other standards that have been set. So now we can create our own quality gate. If you don't want, this is the default standard. Your own company or your organization might have their own standard, and you can come here and create, give it a name, and set your own standard. But I just want to go with the default one. So we are going to create quality gate stage now. And of course, let me show you from our pipeline. The next stage now is what? Quality gate check. That is the next stage now. So let's go ahead and configure our quality gate. So to configure quality gate check, or before we can write the quality gate check stage, we first need to go to our SonarQube server and configure something we call webhook. It is this webhook that will allow Jenkins to send the report back to SonarQube after the quality gate comparison has been done. So we have to go back to our SonarQube server. Okay, I will click on administration, click on configuration, and you click on webhook, and we are going to create webhook. So we are going to call it SonarQube webhook. It doesn't matter. We're going to call it Sonar webhook. SonarQube, the name doesn't really matter. SonarQube. And the URL will be the Jenkins URL. And where is our Jenkins? This is our Jenkins. We are going to copy Jenkins URL. And we are going to go back. We're going to paste it here. And then we are going to add SonarQube. You must add this to it. SonarQube minus webhook. If you don't do this, it is not going to work. So you can see it, check it very well, and then we create. So when we create it, then we can now go to our Jenkins now and create the next stage. So I'll go back to configure. I'll go to my pipeline. Okay. And I will do the next stage. And what is the next stage? As usual, I'll just copy up to the second bracket. I'll copy, then go to the next line, 1, 2, then tab, and I will paste it. And I will name this what? Quality gate check. Quality check. So quality gate check. And what is the command? We can go into our tools, into our syntax, which is here. I like to start it out first. I'm going to close all this, and I'm going to click on pipeline syntax, and I will come here, and there's one that says quality gate check. We are going to see that with quality gate check. You can see it here with quality gate. we select it, and we select our token, okay, and we generate. So this is it. This is the command. I'm going to copy it, okay, and we're going to come to our pipeline. We are going to paste it, okay. Now, this quality gate check can take forever. It can be there for a very long time. You can see there's an error here in my stages. Let's move that stage. It should be like this. So it can be here for a very long time. So what we can do is we have to give it a time limit to make sure that it does not go beyond that time. Okay. So in that case, we can go back to our syntax, and there's something called timeout. So let's look for timeout. Look at it, timeout enforce. And for timeout, I'm going to put 1 here, and I'm going to put 1 hour. So meaning that you can only use maximum of 1 hour. Okay, after 1 hour, it will go. So this is the block. So I'm going to copy it. I'm going to take it back to my pipeline. Okay, and I'm going to put it here. I'm going to paste, and I will remove this block. Okay, and I think I should remove this. I think I should remove this. Okay, so let's see if our code is correct. Let's check out. Okay, there's an error here. Let's delete this and let's check out again. So we say 1 bracket is missing. So when I have this error like this, I don't really waste my time. I just copy it and I'll ask ChatGPT to fix it. So I'll just do Control A, Control C. I'll just go to GPT and just go to GPT, ChatGPT, and I've just had GPT to fix the pipeline. There's also a pipeline validator, but I don't want to waste my time on it. So I've just asked ChatGPT to fix it. Oh, what's going on? No, I don't want this. I don't want this. I don't want this. I want ChatGPT. Okay. Okay. So I'll just say fix syntax error. Okay. I'll just paste it, and it's going to fix it. So we don't have to waste our time. It's going to fix it, and it will tell me maybe there's okay. It just told me there's a missing bracket, which I said I don't know where it is, but I just know one is missing. So I will copy it, and I will go back to my this. I will do Control A and Control V, and I think it's fine now. Okay, so I will save, and I will go back and trigger my pipeline. You see, even before we run it, it said quality gate pass because it has compared. It has compared it. So let's run our build now, and let us see. So immediately we send that webhook. That webhook has automatically triggered the processing, and it has compared it, and the quality gate passed. So that means the code is good to go. So it is after that. Now, if we open our console, you will see it. It's working, and you see moving on, and then it's still in quality gate. Like I told you, it's going to take some time. You can see it's pending, and then we can go back to our web app. It's still running. Let us see. I hope it's not going to take too long. So while that is done, what is our next stage? Let's see what our next stage is. So after quality gate, the next thing is Maven build. So we have to do Maven package. That is the package has been, the code has been checked to be okay. Then we can now go ahead and build our package our application. So let's see what happens here. Quality gate. Yeah, sometimes it can take a very long time. So I'm just going to pause, and when it is done, I will return. So this is taking a very long time. So I'm not comfortable with this the length of time it's taking. So I'm going to go back to see what happened. Let us see. The issue might be with the webhook. Let us see. Webhook. Oh, no. SonarQube webhook. Okay. Oh, I see. See, there's a typo. Let us see. Let me zoom in. You can see the spelling of SonarQube here is wrong. So that could be the case. So I'm going to update that. SonarQube. This is SonarQube. Let me correct it. SonarQube. This is the correct thing. Webhook. So let me update it. Back to my pipeline. Let me go back to my pipeline. Let me abort this. Okay. I'm going to abort this and I'm going to start another build. Okay. After correcting it, let me start another build. So probably that will fix it. Because if that webhook is not well configured, then it's never going to pass through that place. So it's still going. So let's see. Okay, now quality gate is passed. So you can see it is the problem with the webhook. But now that we have corrected the webhook, now it's working. So after that, now we now do what? Maven build. That is a simple one. So we just go back to our pipeline, go to configure, and then we create another step, and that step is Maven build. So I'll just copy another stage up to the next two brackets, copy, 1, 2, next two brackets, tab, and paste it. And that one is what? Maven package. Or what do you want to call it? You can decide to call it anything that you like, but make sure it follows the correct pattern. So I'll call it Maven build. Maven build, or you can call it Maven package if you like. And the command is mvn package, or you can say clean package if you like. Mvn package. So this is going to build the artifact. So let's apply. Oh, sorry, there's an error here. Look at the stage. The stage is not supposed to be on the same level as step. So this is it. I will click out, then I will apply and save. Then I will click on build now again. So another pipeline will set. Let us see how it look like in Blue Ocean. Let's close all this. Oh, it failed. That might be a syntax error. Let us see. Yeah, syntax. There's a syntax error here. That's one thing with pipeline. If there's a syntax error, it's not going to start at all. So it said there's an error at the stage on line 41. So let's go and see it. Let's go to our web app, configure 41 stage. So what is it? See what the error is. Stage, steps. Well, I can see closing quotes. I can see any error. Maybe stage, steps. I think they should be fine in my opinion. Let us see what the error is. Let's go back and see what the error is. We can still copy and ask GPT to fix it, but I didn't see it. Let me see. Okay, so now Maven build, step, sh, Maven package. That should be fine to me. Maven, bracket. Okay. Yeah, we don't have to waste time. Let's do it again. Ask GPT to fix it. Just the same thing. Fix syntax error. Okay, let's put it. It will tell you what the error is and go to fix it. We don't have to waste our time. It says your pipeline has error due to missing closing bracket. Okay, so one of the brackets is that is solving this problem with it. So let's copy it as fix it, and let's replace it with our Maven build. So I'll just do Control V, and I will save, apply, and I'll build again. And let us see this time if it's going to fix it. Okay, it has picked up and it's building. And let us see what it's going to do. So, SonarQube test is going to SonarQube analysis now. And let us see what Blue Ocean is saying. So you can see the process to in Blue Ocean. It will be continuous. If you see it, that's the pipeline. Let's see Blue Ocean pipeline. Okay. Oh, it's completed. Okay, it's completed. Maven build is completed. Okay, it's still building this one. So if you look at it, you can see it's still running. It's still building the application. Okay, and the build is successful. So this is how it shows in Blue Ocean. And let's go back to our, and you can see Maven build is also successful. So, and you can see how it look like in, and you can see, if you look at here, these are the pipeline logs. Okay, but let's go back to our Jenkins. And if you see, if you go back to your web app, you can see quality gate was passed, and we have all the stages was built and successful. So the next stage now is what? What do we have as next stage? To push this artifact to what? To the artifact repository. That is where we need to push it to. Let us see if there are certain things that we can check. I don't know, full stage. I have built now. Everything is here. Um, I'm trying to see if we can have. This is our stage. Changes. So, okay, dashboard. I think we are fine. Something I'm looking at. My syntax. No. Okay, so everything is fine. So let us see. So if you click on last build, then you can see some details. It tells you who started it. By the time we automate it, it's going to you see the name will change. It's not going to be Felix again that started it. So now let's click on workspace. If you click on workspace and you click on this, now you see another file called target has been created. And if you click on target, you will see that this is the artifact Tesla.war. This is the artifact that is being built after the Maven build, and this is the application that is being packaged. And this is artifact that's being packaged, and it's artifact that Docker will use to build image in the subsequent stages. So you can also see what Blue Ocean will show. Blue Ocean will also tell you how that look like. We don't have to waste our time on it, and I just check out back to. So those are the things you can see. These are pipeline steps. If you want to see, these are the steps, all the steps that are taken, and the tools that are used at various step. You can see it. And if you want to see their terminal command, you can see here, and it's going to give you the output of it. So that is where we are now. So the next stage now is Artifactory to push it to Artifactory. And so before we can do that, we need to set up our Nexus server. So next, we are going to go onto our AWS EC2 now and install Nexus. Okay, so I'm going to bring this down I'll go back to, and don't forget we have combined a single server to run SonarQube and Nexus. So, and I think we are still connected, and that is the server here. So now Nexus. So I'm going to clear here, and I'm going to install Nexus. So I'm also going to install Nexus using a Docker container. So I'm going to be installing Nexus using a Docker container. And you will remember that we have already installed Docker on this container. Okay, let's try to continue. You can see that we are not in. We are in the. We are on the terminal, so we need to connect to the machine. And I think let me just check the IP address of the machine again. Our SonarQube server. Okay, the IP handy what 92. So that should be. That should be this. So I'll just connect again. And so we have Docker running on this machine. So we're going to go ahead and install and run Nexus container. And we're going to use the command docker run -d, that is in the detached mode, -name. What is the name of my Nexus server? I want to call it Nexus 3 and -p. And what is the Nexus port? 8081 colon 8081. And what is the image I will use? Sonar type / Nexus 3. So this is the image I'm going to use to run my Nexus container. So I will hit enter, and of course it's going to pull the image from. You can see it says unable to find the image locally. So it's going to first check your computer if the image is there. If you cannot find it, it's going to go into the cloud and pull it. So I think the image is done now. So let's just check Docker PS. So of course you can see that Sonar type Nexus started running, created 11 seconds ago, and it started running 9 seconds ago. So we can now go to our browser and access it on port 8080. So I will go down, I will open another tab here, and of course let me just copy the IP. The IP is this. I'll copy it, new tab, in 8081. Sometimes it takes a couple of seconds for it to come up. So let us see if it's going to come up. Okay, it's coming up very fast this time. So I also want you to note that for you to install Nexus, the minimum storage requirement is 4 GB RAM, 4 GB storage. If your machine is having less than 4 GB of storage, then Nexus is going to crash. So please bear that in mind. Now, we need to sign into Nexus. So if you click on sign in, the password, the username is admin. But what is the password? The password is provided in this directory. How do we get this directory? Don't forget that this Nexus server is run by a container. So we have to log into that container to access this part. So I'm going to copy this part, and I'm going to go back into the container. So I'm going to clear the screen to make it clear. Then I will do Docker PS again. So because I need the ID of the container, so I'm going to zoom out so that I can be very clear. Okay, so that I can copy the ID easily. So this is the ID of the container. So how do we log into a container? You're going to use Docker exec -it, then the ID of the container. So this is the ID of the container. I'll copy it and I'll paste it here. Then I have to provide what type of terminal do I want to use to access it. So I want to use the bash terminal. So I will use /bin because that is where the terminal is in the binary folder, and /bash. Okay, and I'll click enter, and now I'm inside the container. I'm no longer inside my EC2 machine. I'm now inside the container. So I can now go ahead and run. So let me zoom out for you to see. I can now go out and run the command now, this command here. So I'll command this directory here. I'm going to cd into this directory. Okay, so I'll cd into the directory. Okay, sorry, I can't get it. Cd into this directory. Okay, then ls. So this is the content of the directory. So I'm going to go into the one that says admin password. So I'm going to cat admin password, the content of it. Cat admin password, and this is the password. You can see this is the password up to the behind bash. Okay, you are not going to copy bash along with it. So you just copy it onto D. Then we can now go back to this, and I'm going to paste it here and sign in. And now I can sign in, and I can create a new password. So I'll just give it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for demo purpose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'll click on next. Never, I don't want to. Then I'll click on next again, and I will agree the term. And here it's asking us if you want an external person without authorization to sign in. So just for demo purposes, we are going to disable anonymous access. That is, anybody that does not have the authentication will not be able to sign in. So I'll just click disable, and I'll click next and finish. So this is the landing page of our what do you call it? Our Nexus. So now we can now go ahead and set up our next stage. And don't forget, our next stage back to our pipeline is what? We want to push it to Active Directory. Okay, we want to push to next to artifact registry. Now, it is also important to mention that Nexus can be used for different repositories. In fact, we have some companies that use them to host their Docker images. So it is not only an artifact that can be stored there, but for this demonstration, we are going to be using it to store our artifacts, and we are going to be using this. You can see there are a lot of repositories here, but in this case, we are going to be using these two repositories, the one that says Maven releases and Maven snapshot. Those are the one we are going to be using for our repo. Now, so now we go into our pipeline, and we are going to define the next stage. So I'm going to go to my pipeline. I think this is my pipeline, and I'm going to click on configure again, and I'm going to go to my pipeline here. And what is the next pipeline? What is the next stage? Let me move it a little bit up. I'll move it a little bit up, and I'm going to copy the next stage. Let me zoom out a little bit, okay? And I'm going to copy the next stage. As usual, I'll copy it up to the next two brackets. I will copy it. I will click on tab, and I will paste it. Okay, now let us make sure everything aligned. That is correct. So I'm going to change this one from Maven build to what? Publish to publish artifact. Let's just put it like that. But publish artifact. Publish artifact. Okay. Now, like I've always told you, Nexus is another server entirely. And for you to connect from a server to another server, Jenkins is a server, Nexus is a server. So for you to connect from one server to another server, you need two things. Okay, for you to connect a server, for you to connect a server to another server, you need two things. You need the URL and the credentials. Okay, so you need the URL of the server you are connecting to and the authentication credential. Now, it is safe to put your URL anywhere, but your credential must be saved in a secure place, and that's what we are going to do now. So before we set up this stage, we have to go and update our URL and the credential in two places. So one, we are going to go into our GitHub repository, and we are going to go into a file called pom.xml file. Now, sometimes you ask questions, people say, oh, does a DevOps engineer work on code? Yeah, this is one of the cases where you work on source code. So here now we are going to go and update our pom.sml file with the URL of the Nexus registry, so that you are essentially telling it to push that artifact to that point. So if you go down and look for a portion call, let me zoom out a little bit. If you go to a portion call distribution management, just go straight down. Okay, distribution management, you can see it here from line 94. So this is the portion called distribution management. So we are going to change the URL. Okay, you can see here URL. So I will go back to my Nexus and I'm going to copy. This is my I'm going to copy use I'm going to be using the release and the snapshot. So for the release, I will click on copy and I'm going to copy this repo. Okay, I'm going to copy this URL and I will go to my I will go to my pom.sml file and I'm going to replace it. Okay, and look at it, the one that says releases. This is snapshot, this is releases. So I'm going to be changing the one that says releases. So I'm going to change it and I will paste it. Oh, sorry, I need to edit. I will go down line 94. Okay, here is it, and I will change it from here all the way to here and I will place it. Okay, that has been replaced now. I will also do the same for what? For snapshot. I will click this. I will also do the same for snapshot. So for snapshot, I will click on copy and I will copy it. Okay, here the 92 snapshot. I will go back to my pipeline and go into the POM and replace also snapshot. I will copy everything, highlight, and I will paste. Okay, so this has been done now. Now, something is very, very instructive here that you have to note. Now, look at here. Look at this ID. Because we are going to go back to another point where we are going to update our credential. This ID must tally with the same ID there. So this ID here is Nexus, so you have to take it in mind, and that has to be your ID when you get to the other one. So we have done the update here. Let me quickly show you something here at the top. Snapshot that shows you, okay, that tells the Jenkins where to put the artifact. Either to put it as snapshot or something. You can see here. Look at it. This, if I remove this snapshot now, it means the artifact will be put in releases. But as I put this snapshot there, I'm telling Jenkins that when you are pushing the artifact, put it in snapshot as a version. Okay. So I'm going to commit this. I'm going to save it. Now, I'm not going to go back to my Jenkins so that I can add the credential. So I'll go back to Jenkins. Let me just save this because let me just save it so that then I'm going to go back to Jenkins, manage Jenkins. So there is something we need to install. It is called config file provider. That one will enable us to set up some credentials. So I'm going to Jenkins, manage Jenkins. I'll go to plugins. I'll go to available plugins, and I will look for config file provider. Config file. Maybe I can see it. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Config file provider. Maybe it's already installed. Let us check it. Let us check it. Config. Okay, it's already installed. You can see it. Config file provider plugins. It's already installed automatically. So before now, it used to be installed by the DevOps engineer. But you can see that if you see any of this button that is grayed out, it means that it is part of those plugins that were originally installed by Jenkins at the point of setting up, and you cannot change it. That is why it is grayed out. So we already have it, so that is fine. So we can just go back to Jenkins and we go to that file. Look at it. It is because you installed that plugin, that's why you have this file. So you're going to click on this file and you're going to add new config and you're going to select global Maven settings. down and let's give it a name. Let's just give it a web app. Uh, web app. Let's just give it web app. Okay, and I'm going to move on. So now I will move then this global settings. Now this is the configuration where we can change hardware credential. So I'm going to scroll down. You're going to look for where you see server. Look for where you can find server. Okay, this is server here. You can see we have seen server, and it is commented out. We have to remove this comment, the one on line 24. So we are going to remove it, and if you remove it, you see this one will be active. So you're going to remove it, and you're going to put it up here. Okay, you're going to put it up here, and you can see it is active now. So we have uncommented it, and now you have to change it. Look at the ID I showed you the other time. So this ID must tally with the ID in your repository. And what is the ID here? That ID is what? Nexus. Let me show you once again. The ID. I remember I showed you the other time. ID. Okay. Sorry. Let's look for it. ID. Okay, look at it here, line 96. So this ID here is Nexus, and so it must also tally with ID. So you have to remove this and put Nexus. If not, it will not work. Then the username. What is our Jenkins username? What's our Nexus username? Admin. And what's our password? I think I put 123456. So I'm going to just put it 123456. I think that is the password. And then that is that about it. So now that we have added it, okay, I think I mistakenly added another thing. Then we can now, normally we have to duplicate it because they are one is for Nexus and the other one is for, one is for releases and the other one is for snapshot. Okay, most of the time it doesn't really matter. One of them should work. So now that we have done it, so let us install it. Sorry, I think we are fine here. Okay, so let us now submit. So now that we have set it, so we go back to our Jenkins, and we can now go back and start our pipeline. So I'm going to click on our pipeline again. I'm going to click on configure. So we are going to go back to that line. Yeah, I'm going to move it down. Okay, publish to artifact. Then we need to generate what? We need to generate the syntax. So let's click on pipeline syntax, and we are going to look for with Maven. Okay, we're going to look for with Maven. Okay, look at it here with Maven, and when you click on with Maven, so Maven, we select our Maven, which is Maven 3. JDK, the default one is used, and for setting we are going to be using our global setting, which is this one, and then we are fine now. So we can now click on generate syntax, and we are going to copy all of that. We are going to copy all of that to our pipeline. It's a little bit down, and here we are going to put here, go to paste, and we are going to remove this block, and we can move this bracket to somewhere here. Okay, so now we have the command page. Now we can now go ahead and put the command. What is the command to do this? So we have sh : and it's what? Maven deploy. So that is the command, and Maven will now go ahead and deploy this to Nexus repository. So let's go ahead now. Let's apply and save it, and let's go ahead and build now. Let us see if it's going to work. So it's building now, and Maven build. It's compiling unit test, SonarQube analysis. quality gate. Okay, still in SonarQube analysis. Okay, quality gate is there. Don't forget we have gone through all this. Okay, and now it's on Nexus. Let us see if that will pass or fail. Okay, it's the okay, and that pass. And so the artifact has been pushed to Nexus. Now, if we go to our Nexus, okay, and we close this, and we click on Browse, and we click on Maven releases. Sorry. Click on Upload, I think, Browses, Maven snapshot, and you can see this is the artifact. Okay, so our artifact has been pushed here, and you can see inside that snapshot. Okay, you should see underneath. So if you create the next one now, another version will come out. Until as you continue to build it, it will continue to save them, and those are the all the information, the metadata that are all being pushed into the repository. So we now have it in here. So now that we have our image, our artifact push to what? To the push to the Nexus repo. What is now next? Now, according to our pipeline, the next thing now is what? Docker build. So the next thing is for Docker to build the image. Now, how will Docker build this image? We need to what? Install Docker on Nexus server. So Docker must be available on Nexus server to enable Docker must be available on Jenkins server. Don't forget, Jenkins wants to run Docker build. So Jenkins need access to Docker. So we have to go on Jenkins server and install Docker. That is the first step. So I'm going to go back to my terminal, and this is my Jenkins server. So I need to connect again because it's disconnected. And I think, what is my Jenkins server? I think that is, let me bring this down. My Jenkins server has the IP address that ends in 144. So go back to my terminal. And of course, this one ends in 144. I will click enter, and it's connected back. I will clear the screen. Let me see if I have Docker here. Docker. There's no Docker here, so I can go ahead and install Docker. So I'll copy this. .io. I will paste it, and I will do -y. I will install Docker. So Docker is going to be installed on this machine. And like we said, whenever you install Docker on the machine, it is only the root user that has the privileges to use Docker. Now, we want Jenkins to use Docker. So we need to add Jenkins into Docker group. Okay? So in that case, we are going to do what? Sudo user mode -a capital G Docker. Then we need to add Jenkins, because Jenkins is a user. Now we want to add Jenkins so that Jenkins will have ability to use Docker. So I'll click it, enter. Now, normally, whenever you run this command, it does not take effect immediately. And I told you that the essence of doing it is to what? You have to make it, to make the command immediately effective is for you to log out and log in back into this server. But because we did not create a password for Jenkins, we will not be able to run that command. So what we need to do is, normally what we'll have just done is to run new group, okay, run new group and say Docker, and say Jenkins, okay? But Jenkins does not have the password to do that. So instead, what we are going to do is we are going to go to Jenkins and restart Jenkins. So we are going to come here, go to Jenkins pipeline, go to Jenkins server, and just come here, remove everything up to the last, and do restart. So when you do this, Jenkins is going to restart. So when Jenkins restarts, the command will be effective. So Jenkins is restarted. So we'll log in again. Okay. logging into Jenkins again. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think so. Oh, sorry. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in this case. Okay, so we are back to our Jenkins, and you should remember where we are, where we were. We tried to install Docker on Jenkins server so that Jenkins will be able to use Docker, to build the image. Now, the other thing that we need to do is to what? We need to give Jenkins the permission, that is the authentication, to use Docker. So we have installed Docker. Remember, we are going to install a plugin called Docker Pipeline. I think we installed it at the very beginning. If not, we'll install it now, and we need to configure it. So we'll go back to Jenkins, manage Jenkins. Let's go to plugins. Let's see if we have it. Plugins. Let's go to available plugins, and let's type Docker. Okay, we're not going to okay, Docker pipeline. Stay here, so we're going to install it. Now, we could have installed this Docker, but since we have installed Docker manually on Jenkins server, we don't need to install this. If you go ahead to install it, there's no problem, but you're not going to do anything with it. So I'll just do Docker, and I will install. So if I install this Docker now, that's successful. So I'll have go back and configure it. So I'll go back to tool, and let us see if we have Docker here. Okay. So Docker is here. So I can go back now to create the credential that Docker will need, that Jenkins will need to interact with Docker. So I'll go to credential. I'll click on global, hard credential, use username and password, and this will be the username and password of my Docker. Okay, that will be the username and password of Docker. So what's my Docker username? I'll open another tab, and let's see my DockerHub. Okay, this is my DockerHub. I'm logging into DockerHub. Okay, so I'm already logged in. So if I click on this, see, this is my username here, Felix081. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the pipeline here, and I'm going to put username Felix. And what is the password? I'm going to put my password. I think I have the correct password. And what is going to be the ID? I'll put it as Docker credential. Okay, I'll just say Docker creds. I'll just say Docker cred. Let me just put it as Docker cred. Okay, I for Docker credential. It's not important. I put the description. So, and I can say create. Now I have created a Docker credential for my Jenkins. So now I'll go back to Jenkins. I'll click on my app, and I'll go back to my pipeline, and we are going to configure the next stage. And the next stage now is Docker what? So the next stage now, I'm going to copy as usual. I'm going to copy this stage, and I'm going to duplicate it. So I'll just come here. Okay, I'll just come here. Then 1, 2. After the second line, I will duplicate. Then I will paste, and I'll call that one. I'll call that stage Docker build and tag. Docker build and tag. Okay. Now, whenever you build a Docker image, it comes with what you call tag. It is those tags that differentiate the images each time they are built. Because each time you run your CI pipeline, an image is built as the end product. So for each run, there's going to be a different image. So for you to differentiate between these images, then these images has to come with their tags. So that is why we have Docker build and Docker tag at the same time. Now we are going to be using another tool here. Instead of when we want to put the Docker command, instead of using sh, we are going to be using script because this is not running directly on terminal. So we are going to be using what? Script. Okay. So when we use script, so we are using script because it is going to come with the credential, the URL, the credential before the actual command. So here, now, after in the script, so I'm going to have my bracket opened. Okay. I'm going to have my bracket open for the script. Now, I'm not going to go into the syntax so I can get my command. So let me close this because it's stale. And I'm going to click on pipeline syntax. And I'm going to look with something that is called with Docker registry. That's what we are going to look for. With Docker registry, we are going to build and push it to Docker registry. So let's look for that with Docker registry. Okay, I hope I can see it. Docker registry. Okay. Okay, you can see it down here with Docker registry. So we are going to select that. What is the URL? Now, since I'm using a public repository, if you are using a private Docker repository, then you need to provide the URL. But since I'm using public Docker repository, it is going to by default pull it, so I don't have to add the Docker URL. So I'm going to come here and click on token. This is the credential that I just configure. I'm going to select it and I'm going to click on generate. So it's going to generate this. So I'm going to copy it. Okay, I'm going to copy the code and I'll go back to my pipeline and I'm going to paste it here. Okay, I'm going to remove this block. Okay, and I'm going to move this to somewhere here. Now, after I've added this, the next thing now is to now add the command. The command to build the image. So that would be sh in quote. And what is the command? Docker build -t. Then what is the name of my username? The username of my Docker hub, which is Felix081. Then slash. What is the name of the web app? The name of the application you want to build. Let me call it web application. Web application. Okay, let me call it web application 2 because I think I have another web application there. Let me call it web application 2. Okay, and what is the tag? We need to put a tag there. And I told you that each time the Docker, the container is, the pipeline is run, there's going to be a Docker image that will be built. How do we now automatically attach a tag? Usually, people just decide to add latest. They'll just come here and add latest. Whenever you add latest, it means that each image will override the previous image and replace it. Then you're not going to have record of your build, of your image build. So it is good to tag this image. Now, how can we tag it? We will go and there's an inbuilt tagging mechanism in Docker. There are a whole lot of them. So the one we are going to use here is called image tag. So we are going to add that under the environment. So I'm going to come under environment and I'm going to have something called image tag underscore tag. And it's going to be defined as, I'm going to have inside colon, I'm going to have V dollar into bracket this, and then that is called build number. And I will explain that build underscore number. Don't forget each time you run your each time you run the pipeline, there is going to be a Maven build. And that Maven build is as a result of the number of build. Each time you click on your build, on your Maven project, on your pipeline, there's a Maven build that is generated, and it is numbered based on the build numbers. So what you are essentially telling here is that attach the build number as a tag to my image. So we now have to go and call this as our tag. So we go and call this. So it means that if your build number is 1, your image will be V1. That's why you have this V here. If your build number is 10, your image tag will be V10. So we'll come here now. So instead of putting latest here, we'll put dollar then image tag. Okay, we'll put dollar image tag. And what that means is that for every tag, there's going to be a build number as a tag to it. And now you are telling your Maven, so you're telling your Docker to where are you going to find the file you are going to use to build your Docker image. Now, before we had that, let me quickly take you to our repository. And there's something we call Docker file. Before you can build a Docker image, there's something that is called Docker file. And I have it written here. And this Docker file is going to act like a base, and it's going to give you a prototype of how your image will be built. So if you look at what I have here, let me zoom out a little bit. It's telling you that this image, you can see, it's copying this image from the target folder. If I go to my, okay, let me go to my Jenkins pipeline. If I go to my Jenkins and I do ls, okay, this is Jenkins. If I do ll, oh, I think it's maybe it's stiff because we have let it for long. So I'm just going to close it and reconnect because I don't know why. Okay, let me just close and I will try to reconnect. Let me bring it up again and open another one, another tab. Okay, I will clear it. I will open the second tab. Let's call this one, let's see if you can get which one end in 92. Let us check which of our, I think it's the SonarQube that end in, yeah, SonarQube end in 92 and the other one end in 144. So 92 is SonarQube, so I will click enter. So I will clear the screen and I will rename it SonarQube so that we can get it. Sonar Nexus. Remember, that is what we call it. And the second one is our Jenkins. Let me see if I can have that one too. Okay, that is it. I'll click enter. I will clear the screen and I will call that one Jenkins. Jenkins, okay. So we can move it anywhere if you like. Okay, this is how it was before. So in my Jenkins server now, if I do ll, you will see this is all what has been done in the Jenkins server. Okay, that is correct. So now, if I go, let me expand it and zoom out a little bit for you to see. And this one too, let me zoom out. So if you go back to our Jenkins, I don't want to leave this place, so let me come to this one. If you go back to our Jenkins, let me duplicate this. And I want to show you something very quickly. If you go back to our Maven and we look at the last build and we go to our workspaces, you will see that inside a file called target folder, we have our artifacts there. So that is exactly what is happening here. So the Docker file is saying go into the target folder and copy the image. Copy this image for me to use so that Docker will be able to build it. And this is the Catalina that we run, and this is the exposed port where we are going to access the application. So I'm going to come here now. And if you look at my Docker file is in the same directory as my source code. So if I come back here now, I will now put the path to where I can find the Docker file. And since it's in the same directory, you just add period. So when you add period, then that is going to build and tag the image. So I'm seeing if there's another better name I can give my. Okay, let me call it web underscore app. I don't want to call it to web underscore app. Okay. So now let us save this, apply, save, and let us go and run. Let us see if that will work. So now that has failed. So whenever you see it fail like that, it is syntax error. I'm very sure. Let's see console output. You see, it's telling us there is a problem. There's an extra comma. So like I told you, I don't usually waste my time. I just go back, configure, I go back to my pipeline and I copy it, Control A, Control C, and I take it to fix this for me. I'll just say syntax, fix syntax error for me. I'll paste the code, click enter. It's going to fix it and it's going to tell you what the error was. Okay, let's wait a little bit. I don't know why it's wasting time. This is wasting a lot of time, please. Okay, I think it has fixed it. Okay, it has fixed it because it's incorrectly nested inside this. Okay, so let's copy it now. I think it has corrected it. He said I mistakenly put it inside the other one. So he has corrected it. So now let's go back to I've copied it. Go back to my Maven, do Control V. Now I'll click out, then save it, apply, save, then build. So I'll build now, let us see. So it's started building. Let us see how quick that can go. Okay, so the build is successful. You can see the Docker build is successful. So now that the Docker build is completed, now let us see what is our next stage. And the next stage is to push it to what? To DockerHub. So you have to push this to what? DockerHub. And what is the command to do that? So I'm going to go back to my web app. I'll click on configure again, and I'm going to push to what? To web to Docker Hub. Now, we are missing something very important. Now, to before we put the image to Docker Hub, there is something that we need to do. We also need to, because our image has gone through so many processes, we also need to do something we call image scan. We need to scan the image to see if there's any vulnerability in that image before it is eventually pushed to DockerHub. Because we believe that whatever we have in the DockerHub is good to go. So we need to scan the image, and in this case, we are going to be using Trivy too. So we're going to be using Trivy to also scan the image to see if this image is in good shape. So Trivy, just like the file scan, is going to scan the image and is going to send the command, is going to send the result for analysis. So we'll go back to our pipeline, and the next stage now, instead of Docker push, will now be what? Will now be Trivy image scan. What is happening here? Okay. So I'm going to copy another image. So I'll just go and copy the file scan and edit it. Trivy file scan, I'll just copy it up to the second. And I'm going to copy. I'll go to the last stage. I can't two, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think this is it. I hope I'm correct. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So let me put it here. I'm not sure. If it is wrong, what we call it, GPT will help us to fix it. So I'll paste it there and look at this stage. I have to move it backward. And instead of Trivy file scan, I'm going to call it Trivy image scan. I'll call it Trivy image scan. And so instead of Trivy FS, it's going to be what? Trivy image. Okay. And what is the format? I want a table format. My iPhone format table. And I want the report, okay, to be generated into FS. You can see everywhere I have FS, I'm just changing it to image. But the only difference here is that you now have to tell us what is the image that you want to be scanned. And this is the image here. This is our image here. We copy it here. This is all the image. Up to the tag, we copy it, and we are going to paste it here. So we remove the period, and we paste. So this is the image that will be scanned. Okay, so we can now save it. So at the same time, let's just add Docker push at the same time, so we don't have to come back. So I'm going to copy. I just hope my syntax is correct. So I'm going to copy this one up to here, and I'm going to come on 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to paste, and that will be Docker push. Okay, that will be Docker push. Okay, Docker, or let me just say push Docker image. Okay, and what are we going to do here is the same command. All I just need is, instead of Docker build, I'll just remove and replace it with Docker push, and it's going to push it to I need to remove this as well. Docker push the image, and I'm going to remove the period because it's putting it to what? To the repository. So that is what we have now. And we can go ahead and run, but it's already telling us there's an error here. Let me remove it and let me click out. There's also an error, so we cannot continue to run after that. Let me just copy as usual. Control A, Control C. I will go back to pipeline and tell him to fix syntax. Fix syntax. I will paste it. I will click enter. It's going to fix the syntax quick. Okay, so syntax error are all those minus, comma, full stop that you or period that you mistakenly had or removed. So you can see it told me, it said incorrectly nested Trivy image inside this. So missing closing bracket. So you can see it's telling me what happened. So I'm just going to copy, and I'm going to go back to my pipeline. Where's my pipeline? This is my pipeline, and I'm going to what? Oh, sorry, Control A, and I'm going to do Control V. Now I've pasted it. I will save, and I will build the image. So before I build the image, let me show you what I have in my DockerHub. This is my DockerHub. Let me refresh. And this is all the images that are present there. Okay, so you can see the last one was pushed 1 day ago. So I'm going to push another one now, and let us see what we have. So I will go back to my list, and I will run the job. So I've run another job. That one has started. So it's running the entire pipeline. So it's running the entire pipeline. Let us see. So that's going. This is completed. Let us see if that push will be successful. Okay. So we are waiting for the image. So this is the image scan. Okay, it's scanning it. And if I go to the job, you see it's going to give us, so image scan is still there. It's going to give us the report. If I go to console, console output, okay, and I move down, you will see the report of the image scan. Is that what it's still doing? I still doing, okay, you can see it. Okay, the pipeline succeeded, but you see the image scan. It's going to scan all the content. You can see Trivy scan, and it's going to produce the result for us in the table form. We are going to see that too in our pipeline, and that is what? That is job number 13. Let me go back to my pipeline. So you can see the pipeline is completed. Docker image has been successfully pushed to Docker register. And if you look at it, it is what? Job number 13. You should also see it here. So if I go back to my Docker Hub now, I go back to my Docker Hub, and if I refresh, you're going to see a new image. And you can see a new image. Remember, I put it, the name is web_app, and it just came in like 1 minute ago. And if you click on this app, and you go under tag, you can see the tag is what? Version 13, because that's the number of build. If I go back to the pipeline, let me click on the on last build, and let me click on workspace. You will see, you're going to see the report. Look at the report for our image. If you click on it, it's so you can't read it now. It's only the security people will be able to access it. So I'm going to go back. I will go back to my web app. Now, if I build another one, it's going to give us the next version. But now, let us go back to this has completed our CI pipeline. But two important things are missing. Number one, let's go back to configure. Nobody push in the real sense of it. We don't like in the production or in the real sense. It is not advisable, or it's not best practice. It's not best practice that you should store your Jenkins pipeline file inside the script here. You are supposed to create a separate file for Jenkins. So we are going to copy this. I'm going to copy this command now. I'm going to copy it. Let me back it up somewhere in case if it fails. I'm going to back it up here. Okay, just give me a minute. I'm going to back it up I'm going to back it up. Okay, so, and I'm going to remove it. But before I remove it, I'm going to go back to my repository, and there's something called Jenkins file. So I'm going to create a file called Jenkins file. Okay, and I'm going to paste the command I copy from here. This command, I'm going to paste it there. Okay, so I'm going to come here. I'm going to go to my Maven, and I'm going to paste it. So I'll click on edit, and I'm going to paste. I'll do Control A to highlight everything. You can see it's just the same thing like what we have here. And I'm going to do Control V. So I've pasted everything now. Okay, and I'm going to what? Go ahead and save it. So I will commit it. Now I will go back to now that I have my Jenkins file. Okay, I've created a file called Jenkins file, and I've pasted it. You know how to create a file. All you just need is to come to your repository, click on a repository, okay, and click on add file. Where is it? Add file. I'm looking for. Okay, here. Click on this plus, and click on create new file, and you're going to give it a name, Jenkins file, and you're going to paste the command here. Okay, you just paste the command, and you will save it. But I'm not going to do that here now because I've already done it. So that is how to create. The Jenkins file. Now that we have the Jenkins file in our repository, so I'm going to go back to and I'm going to remove this file. I'm going to remove it from here. So I'm going to copy it. Okay, now we don't have Jenkins file here. So if I save now and apply, let us see. You see the job will fail. Build now. You can see it. Nothing has started because there's nothing to build. Okay, look at it again. I click on build now. Do you see anything? Nothing is starting because there's no what you can see. It's empty because there's no file to reference. So let us go back to our configuration and configure it the real way. Now that we have created a Jenkins file and we have the pipeline copied into it, now we are going to reconfigure our pipeline. So we are going to come here. So we are going to keep keeping one. And now, instead of using the script, we are going to be using something called SCM. So you are merely telling your Jenkins to pull your repository from source control management, that is SCM, okay? And what is the next thing? Instead of using pipeline script, you are not going to use pipeline script, you are going to use pipeline script from SCM, okay? And what is the name of the pipeline script? Jenkins file. It's right here, Jenkins file. And that is why we have what Jenkins file here, okay? And now, what other thing? If you click on SCM, you select Git, and it's asking you from which of the repository. So we have to come here and copy the repo. So I'll click on this, and I'll click on here and copy the repo. I'll copy the repo, go back to my Maven, Jenkins, and paste it. This is a public repo, as you can see from here. It's a public repo, okay? So I don't have to, if I click out of here, and I click on it, you can see it is public. You can see it in front here. So I don't have to put credential. So I've supplied it, and no credential is needed. I don't need it because this is a credential for GitHub, for DockerHub. So the next thing is the branch of my repository is main branch. So I've put main branch, and I will save. I will apply and save. So now let me go and build. Let us see what happens. So I'll go now and build. You can see it has started. Let us see what happened. It has picked up because it has identified. It has identified. You can see it now. It says declarative checkout from what? SCM. No longer from the script. It's now from SCM. So, and it's going now. It's running the pipeline. It's running the pipeline. So this is how to do it in the production environment. You don't want to keep your script inside the Jenkins automation tool. You have to have your Jenkins file in a separate folder, and that is what we have just done, or in a separate file. And you can see now we are waiting for the final image, and you can see it is successful. So the image is completely built. If I go back to my DockerHub now and I refresh again, and you will see a new image has been sent in less than a minute. And if I go back to check that image now, we are going to see two images. One, and that is what build number 16. And let us go back to our pipeline. And you will see what build do you have? Build number 16. And that is why the tag is what? V16. Now, this is fantastic. We have completed the CI pipeline. But this is not DevOps. It is not DevOps because it is not automation. DevOps has to be automation. We can see that each time we make a change, we have to go to our pipeline and click build. That should not be the case. Immediately we make the change and we commit it, the pipeline should automatically trigger by itself. The pipeline should automatically trigger by itself. And for us to do that, we are going to configure something we call webhook trigger. So that webhook trigger is the one that will trigger our webhook. Okay? And before you can use webhook trigger, there is something that needs to be installed. So we have to go back to our Jenkins pipeline. We'll click on Jenkins. We'll click on Manage Jenkins. And we are going to install a plugin called, go to Plugins. We are going to install a plugin called, available plugin. We call it a generic webhook trigger. This is it here. Generic webhook trigger. You click on it and you click on install. Okay, we're going to wait for that to install. So that has installed now. And we are going to go to our Manage Jenkins again. Manage Jenkins. So now that we have installed the generic webhook trigger, which is one of the perfect trigger, we are going to go back to our pipeline. Okay, we're going to go back to our pipeline, and now you are going to see, we go back to configure, and you're going to see something, an option called generic webhook trigger. Okay, this is it here. This was not there before. It appeared because we just installed the trigger. So we need to configure it. So we select it and we move down. So under post content parameter, we click on add. And the first thing here, under variable, you're going to write ref. And under the next one, we are going to write $.ref. That is the configuration standard. And we are going to select JSON part. So we will now go down to token. So this token is any value of your own that you can select. So in my own case, I'll just put suspend. You can put anything, okay? You can put anything. Suspend, okay? That's what I'm going to put in there. That is a special name. That is my company name. Suspend, okay? And then you're going to scroll down to optional filter. Under optional filter, then inside the expression, you are going to put something like refs /heads /main. And what you are saying here is that you are referencing and you are telling it that only this webhook should only be triggered when there's a commit to the main branch. Whenever we make any change in the repository and we commit it to the main branch, then the webhook will automatically trigger the pipeline. And in the text file, we can put $ref. Don't get it mixed up. The first one was $.ref. Okay. This one here is $.ref. Why here is $ref. So please be mindful of that. So this is $ref. So now we can save this. Okay, we can apply, we can save this. Now we need to generate a URL, or we can call it payload, which is really our webhook URL that we are going to use on our Jenkins, that we're going to use on our GitHub to connect Jenkins to GitHub. And this URL is somewhere around there. We have been given a sample on how to write it. Okay, I'm looking for that. Okay, here. So optional token, if you read here, you understand it. So we are going to copy this. Let's copy this all the way to token. Now let's take it to our pad and let's do something there. Let's take it to our notepad. Okay. And I'm going to paste it here. Let me zoom out a little bit. Okay. This one is not zooming out. It's not zooming out. Okay. So we are going to we are going to generate a URL from here. I don't know why it's not zooming out. Let me see this. So that didn't work. So let's remove this. I hope you can. I thought I'll be able to make it bigger for you to see, but it's not showing. Okay, so let's generate a URL from here. Let me just move it to the middle. So the first thing here is we are going to remove everything here from all the way from invoke. We're going to remove it. Okay, and so what do we need? We need Jenkins URL. So let's go and copy our Jenkins URL. This is our Jenkins. We are going to copy Jenkins URL up to 8080. We copy, we go back here, and this is it. I'm going to highlight from here, Jenkins URL, paste. Okay, you can see a double. Let me remove it. So then it does a token here. Remember, what is our token? We just put our token here as what? I think I used suspend token. Yeah, my token it was suspend. I'll just copy it and I can put it in my. So instead of token here, I will remove it and put it as suspend. So this will now form my payload URL or my webhook URL, as the case may be. So I'm now going to take this to my what? To my GitHub. So I'll go to GitHub. I will go to settings, and on the left hand side, I will click on webhook, and on the webhook, okay, there's one here. I can edit or I can delete that one. So I need to authenticate. Let me quickly take my authenticator and get my two-factor authenticator. Okay, and what I have here is 182383. Okay, so I'll just replace this with the new token. Okay, and this thing I'm going to select JSON, and I'm going to what? Update webhook. Now, if you update webhook, let's click on webhook again, and this failed. This thing should be checked out, and you can see it said the last delivery was not successful. So let's delete it. Let's delete it completely, and let's add a new one. Add webhook. So instead of payload URL, you put the webhook there, and for this one you select JSON, and you click on add webhook. So let's see. Let's wait a while, and let's refresh it after some time. Well, you can see now there's a check mark here, and it said the last delivery was successful. So whenever you get this, it means that the webhook is working. So now I'm going to go back to my Maven. I'm going to save this and go back to my command. Now, I will not use build now again. I'm going to go back to my, so just watch. The last job here is job 16. So I'm going to go back to my my GitHub repository, which is this. I'll click on my GitHub, and I'm going to what? Edit one of the files, just one of the file. I will edit it, and let us see. Let me see, even if it is README file. Let me just put inside README file, edit. Let me say webhook is being tested. First, and I'm going to commit it, and I'm going to look at it, commit directly to the main branch. If I say commit to the main branch, now let us go back to our pipeline. Let us see what happened. Let's watch. You can see that job 17 has started. Okay, and you can see now it has picked up the pipeline by itself. And you can see it has started working. And if you go to your console output, you will see it will tell you generic course. You know, before it used to say it was started by either by Felix or by somebody, but now it's saying it is automatically pick up. So this is now DevOps, because we don't have to come here to manually build it. As soon as we click on the as soon as we commit something to the build, then the pipeline will automatically be triggered, and the pipeline will start to build. Now, before you can call a process DevOps, that process needs to be automated and need to be repetitive. And that is what we have just achieved here. So the Docker image has been pushed. And if we go back to our DockerHub again and we refresh, we are going to see another image with build number 17. And you can see that is the tag. So this is, if you go back to our pipeline, you see that we have completed all the process, all the way from checkout to Docker push. So this is a complete, a very comprehensive and complete continuous integration pipeline. So now, the next thing will be to deploy to your application to Kubernetes, which is a CD aspect of it. So this is what we have come to learn. This has been a very long journey, a very long video, and I apologize with the length, but I just want to try as much as possible to make you understand the process of a CI pipeline. So, if you have any question, I'm going to make everything available in the comment section of this video. I'm going to make the repository available. I'm going to make the Jenkins file code available, also the Docker file, so you can practice on your own. But I will implore you to try to learn how to write Jenkins pipeline. It is very easy using the pipeline syntax. I hope you enjoy this video, and please, if you have learned one or two things, kindly subscribe to my channel so that you can see when you can get notification when a new video is being updated. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.